There is a doorway into wealth that most men will never discover. They search for it in opportunity, in luck, in strategy. But the doorway is not out there. It is inside the mind. And tonight, while you sleep, that doorway will open for you. You are about to enter the wealth dimension. You have spent years thinking about money with the patterns inherited from fear, patterns that shrink your ambition, patterns that limit your imagination, patterns that convince you wealth is rare. But wealth is not rare. Wealth is responsive. It obeys the man whose mind is built to receive it. Tonight, your mind begins that reconstruction. Think about this. The richest people in history were not born with superior advantages. They were born with ordinary minds, minds that they rewired with extraordinary discipline. While others slept in poverty thinking, they slept in prosperity thinking. They trained their subconscious to hunt opportunity, not avoid risk, and that is exactly what you will do tonight. Imagine falling asleep and feeling something shift inside you like a curtain being pulled back, revealing a part of you you've never fully used. A part capable of decisive thinking, bold vision, and unshakable wealth alignment. A part that knows money is not an accident, but an effect. The subconscious is the cause. Wealth is the result. Tonight you begin mastering the cause. You may not realize how often your thoughts betray you. When money is mentioned, your body tightens. When opportunity appears, hesitation rises. When a vision excites you, doubt whispers. These responses are not logical, they are programmed, and any program can be rewritten. Tonight, we rewrite the entire system. Picture a version of yourself living 12 months from now, calmer, richer, more commanding. He makes decisions quickly. He sees ideas before others notice them. He attracts allies effortlessly. He speaks with authority. He walks as though wealth is already responding to him. That version of you is not imaginary. He is simply untrained. Tonight you begin training him. Let me take you to a small moment in your own life. It is morning. You stand at your sink, water running over your hands. You look up and see someone stronger looking back at you, someone with certainty in his eyes, someone with a millionaire mind. The shift is subtle but unmistakable. You know something inside you has changed. That is what happens when the subconscious accepts a new financial identity. But hear me carefully. Millionaire thinking does not come from learning more. It comes from unlearning the beliefs that imprison you. Beliefs such as, money takes too long, I need luck, I'm afraid to lose, success happens to others, I don't have what wealthy people have. These statements have been repeated so often they feel like truth. But they are not truth, they are chains. And tonight, those chains dissolve. As your mind drifts into rest, you will enter a state where resistance disappears. This is where the deepest transformations occur, not in the noise of daytime effort, but in the quiet darkness where the subconscious listens without argument. In that space, I will plant new laws, that wealth seeks you, that opportunity gravitates toward you, that ideas flow through you, that you are capable of commanding money, not chasing it. These laws will override the old patterns of financial fear. Let me interrupt you for a moment with purpose. Stop, feel your breath, notice the quiet shift happening already. Your mind is preparing itself for a different kind of night, a night that changes everything after it. As you sink deeper, your subconscious will begin rearranging the assumptions that have shaped your financial life. You will no longer assume difficulty, you will assume advantage. You will no longer react to money, you will anticipate it. You will no longer wait for certainty, you will create it. This is the foundation of millionaire thinking. Wealth responds to the man who expects it. Now imagine another scene. You are in a conversation days from now. Normally, you would stay quiet, unsure of your ideas. But this time, words come easily. Your thoughts are clear. Your posture is strong. You feel aligned with something powerful, your own growing mastery. People sense it. They respond to you differently. This is the behavior of a man whose subconscious has been rewired for wealth. Confidence is not the cause of wealth. Confidence is the side effect of identity, and identity is what you rebuild tonight. But I must warn you, if you treat this audio as background noise, nothing will shift. Wealth does not respond to the man who listens casually. It responds to the man who listens with intention. So allow the words to settle deeply. Do not analyze. Do not resist. Let them enter the parts of you that have been untouched for years. Your wealth dimension opens only when your conscious guard relaxes, and sleep is the key. You are not merely falling asleep tonight. You are stepping into a mental state where your thoughts and your future begin forming a partnership. A state where you no longer sabotage yourself. A state where wealth becomes a natural outcome, not a distant dream. Let your mind soften. Let the weight of today fade. Let your breathing slow. You are entering the laboratory of the subconscious where new realities are built. Over the next 3 hours, your mind will rehearse prosperity instead of fear. You will hear messages that strengthen your self-image, expand your vision, and install decisiveness. You will absorb ideas that make wealth feel familiar, not foreign. And tomorrow, you will notice the first signs. A calmer reaction to money, a clearer mind around decisions, a sudden sense of possibility, a shift in posture, a spark of ambition. These are not coincidences. These are indicators that your subconscious is being upgraded. In the days that follow, your thinking will sharpen, your expectations will rise, your fear will shrink. And eventually, you will cross a threshold where you no longer hope for wealth, you identify with it. That identity is the magnet that pulls riches toward you. Tonight you step through that threshold. Let yourself drift. Let yourself open. Let the wealth dimension receive you. Tonight you sleep. Tomorrow you think differently. And the day after that, wealth begins answering. There is a fundamental error that keeps men poor, which few ever recognize. They believe money responds to effort alone. They believe wealth is granted through strain, struggle, and visible labor. This belief poisons the mind long before it affects the pocket. Wealth does not respond first to the hands. It responds to the mind that commands the hands. The mind is the receiving station of riches. Where the mind is closed, money does not enter. Where the mind is unfamiliar with wealth, wealth feels unwelcome and stays away. Most men grow into adulthood having rehearsed poverty, thinking so consistently that it feels natural. They have repeated thoughts of limitation, delay, and danger until these thoughts hardened into expectation. Expectation governs results. A man cannot long attract what his mind quietly rejects. Rejection often hides behind modesty. It hides behind caution. It hides behind fear dressed as wisdom. Tonight you begin reversing this condition. Wealth is not rare. This truth offends the man who has struggled, yet it remains unchanged by his struggle. Wealth is abundant wherever minds are prepared to receive it. Scarcity exists not in the world, but in the thought habits that filter what is allowed to pass through consciousness. The subconscious does not reason. It accepts. Whatever it accepts becomes law in the life of the individual. This is why men who grow accustomed to wealth appear to attract it without strain. They are not favored by fortune. They are familiar with abundance. Familiarity removes resistance. Resistance is the unseen barrier that repels opportunity. Opportunity avoids the tense mind. It seeks the calm one. Calm is not indifference. Calm is expectancy without anxiety. The millionaire mind expects wealth as a natural response to causes set in motion. It does not plead, it does not rush, it does not fear delay. Fear betrays unfamiliarity. Familiarity creates authority. Authority invites response. The great fortunes of history began not with money, but with mental permission. Edwin C. Barnes did not arrive at Thomas Edison's office with capital, credentials, or advantage. He arrived with expectation. He had already decided he belonged in partnership before evidence appeared. That decision shaped his conduct. His conduct shaped his opportunity. Opportunity responded. This is not romance. It is law. Barnes did not hope to become Edison's partner. Hope is weak. He assumed it. Assumption impressed the subconscious. The subconscious guided behavior. Behavior created alignment. Alignment produced result. You are learning this same law tonight. As you lie in stillness, the conscious mind relaxes its guard. This is not weakness. It is opportunity. The conscious mind often argues against wealth because it measures itself against the past. The subconscious accepts instruction without argument. The subconscious builds futures. This is where change truly begins. You have lived too many years allowing old financial memories to dictate new expectations. Memories of loss, struggle, embarrassment, or delay have whispered warnings into your thinking. Those warnings felt protective, but they were destructive. They taught your mind to approach money with tension. Tension repels. Ease attracts. Ease does not mean carelessness. It means confidence in response. Wealth responds to men who expect it without desperation. Desperation announces lack. Expectation announces readiness. Readiness is magnetic. You are installing readiness now. The richest men have always understood something the average man ignores. Money obeys mental climate. Where thought is orderly, confident, and directed, money flows toward it through channels that appear mysterious only to the uninformed. There is nothing mysterious about it. Money is an effect. Thought is the cause. Tonight you address the cause. Consider how your body has responded to thoughts of money in the past. Tightness, hesitation, caution disguised as prudence. These reactions were learned. They were repeated until they became automatic. Automatic responses feel like instinct, but they are habit. Habit can be changed. Habit yields to repetition. Repetition is the tool of the subconscious. This is why this night matters. As your breathing slows, your mind becomes receptive. Words enter without resistance. Ideas settle deeper than logic. This is where identity reshapes itself. Identity is not what you announce. It is what your subconscious accepts as true. A man earns in accordance with his identity. If his identity whispers not yet, money waits. If it whispers not for me, money avoids him. If it whispers I belong, here, money responds. Belonging is the key. Wealth must feel familiar before it feels attainable. Tonight you allow wealth to feel familiar. You imagine not the spending of money, but the calm possession of it. Calm possession removes fear. Fear once told you that money could leave as quickly as it arrived. That belief poisoned your peace. Peace is required for expansion. Expansion cannot occur in tension. Expansion requires trust. Trust grows from repetition of calm expectancy. As you continue listening, the old beliefs begin loosening their hold. Statements such as, money takes too long, I am not ready, others have advantages, lose their weight. They were never truths. They were echoes of repetition. Echoes fade when new sounds replace them. You are replacing them now. Picture yourself 12 months from now. Not excited, not boasting, calm, decisive, unhurried. You make choices without apology. You speak without hesitation. Others notice. They do not know why you seem different, but they respond differently. Response follows authority. Authority grows from identity. Identity is being rebuilt tonight. You are no longer training the mind to fear loss. You are training it to expect alignment. Alignment between effort and result. Alignment between thought and outcome. Alignment between decision and opportunity. Opportunity does not arrive randomly. It follows mental readiness. The mind that expects wealth sees ideas others overlook. It hears invitations others miss. It recognizes openings others ignore. This is not luck. It is perception sharpened by expectation. Expectation is the lens. You are adjusting the lens now. As sleep approaches, resistance dissolves further. The subconscious accepts new laws quietly, without ceremony. These laws do not shout. They settle. That wealth seeks the prepared mind. That money responds to clarity. That opportunity gravitates toward confidence. that you are capable of commanding money, not chasing it. These laws do not need belief to work. They need acceptance. Acceptance occurs most easily now. You are not forcing change, you are allowing it. Allowing is powerful. Allowing removes struggle. Struggle implies opposition. There is no opposition now. There is only installation. Installation is quiet. It works while you rest. Over the coming days, you will notice subtle shifts. Your reactions soften. Your thoughts expand. Your hesitation shortens. Your ambition feels less dangerous. These are not coincidences. They are signs of a mind becoming familiar with wealth. Familiarity breeds confidence. Confidence breeds action. Action breeds result. Result reinforces identity. This cycle sustains itself. Tonight is not about effort. It is about orientation. You are orienting the mind toward abundance rather than defense. Defense belongs to scarcity. Creation belongs to wealth. Creation requires imagination disciplined by expectation. Expectation is now being trained. Rest now in this work. The wealth dimension does not open with noise. It opens with quiet certainty, and that certainty is taking root. There comes a moment in every man's progress when wishing must end and decision must begin. Poverty thinking lingers longest, not because men lack opportunity, but because they postpone commitment. They think, they weigh, they compare, and in doing so they drain the very force that attracts riches. Wealth responds to firmness, not deliberation without end. Decision is the line wealth crosses. Indecision is the barrier it avoids. Most men mistake delay for wisdom. They believe waiting protects them. In truth, waiting weakens them. The subconscious interprets delay as doubt, and doubt sends a clear instruction. Do not move resources here. Money obeys confidence. It withdraws from uncertainty as surely as water withdraws from heat. The millionaire mind does not rush, but it does decide. Decision does not guarantee success. It guarantees movement. Movement clarifies. Clarification attracts assistance. Assistance multiplies effort. This sequence has never failed when followed persistently. It is the law behind every fortune ever built. Henry Ford did not know how to build the V8 engine when he demanded it be built. He knew only that it must be built. His engineers doubted. Experts laughed. Ford remained firm. That firmness organized intelligence around his demand. Intelligence responds to direction. Direction precedes method. Method follows decision. You are learning this same principle now. Indecision scatters the mind. Scattered minds repel wealth because they emit confusion. Confusion signals risk. Money avoids risk unless guided by certainty. Certainty is not knowledge of outcome. It is commitment to course. Commitment steadies the subconscious. The subconscious directs perception. Perception reveals opportunity. Opportunity responds. The man who decides quickly trains his mind to expect cooperation. The man who delays trains his mind to expect obstruction. Expectation becomes habit. Habit becomes character. Character governs income. You are reshaping character tonight. As your conscious mind softens, the deeper mind listens. It hears whether you are firm or uncertain. Tonight you speak firmness into it. You replace hesitation with resolve. Resolve does not shout. It settles quietly and directs action without drama. Drama belongs to doubt. Resolve belongs to wealth. Wealth seeks the man who knows what he wants, even if he does not yet know how he will get it. The how reveals itself only after the what is fixed. This law confounds the cautious and rewards the bold. Boldness is calm certainty, not recklessness. The millionaire thinker does not gamble, he commits. Commitment organizes circumstances. Circumstances appear accidental only to those who do not understand the law behind them. The law is simple. Thought backed by decision creates channels. Channels bring money. No decision, no channel. Consider how many ideas you have abandoned because you waited for perfect clarity. Perfect clarity never arrives before movement. It arrives because of movement. Men who wait for readiness train themselves never to feel ready. You are ending that training. From this night forward, your mind accepts a new instruction. Decide, then adjust. Adjustment is strength. Fear resists adjustment because it equates change with failure. Wealth embraces adjustment because it refines method. Method grows through use. Use follows decision. Decision dissolves fear. Fear of loss once whispered that decision was dangerous. That whisper was not protective. It was paralyzing. You are no longer listening to it. You are listening to law. Law rewards firmness. As decision becomes habit, something subtle changes in how others respond to you. They feel it in your tone. They notice it in your posture. You speak with finality rather than speculation. People trust finality. They align with it. Alignment multiplies power. Power attracts resources. Resources respond to decisiveness. This is why leaders are followed before they succeed. Success is the effect. Decision is the cause. Followers sense cause before effect appears. You are installing cause now. Night after night, your subconscious learns that hesitation is no longer welcome. When an idea appears, it is evaluated briefly, then acted upon or dismissed. Lingering ends. Lingering wastes force. Force conserved strengthens will. Will directs action. Action brings result. As this pattern deepens, the future feels less threatening. Threat arises when choices are postponed. Postponement creates backlog. Backlog creates pressure. Pressure feeds anxiety. Decision clears pressure. Clarity restores calm. The millionaire mind values speed of decision more than perfection of choice. Perfect choices are rare. Correctable choices are abundant. Correctability is sufficient. Wealth grows through correction, not avoidance. Avoidance starves progress. Progress feeds confidence. Confidence attracts opportunity. Opportunity follows decision. This cycle is now being rehearsed within you. As you drift deeper into rest, imagine yourself deciding calmly, not emotionally, calmly. A man who decides calmly signals authority to the subconscious. Authority attracts cooperation. Cooperation multiplies effort. Effort applied decisively yields compound return. You will notice in the coming days that you no longer negotiate endlessly with yourself. You choose, you act, you move on. This is not impatience. It is maturity. Mature minds do not argue with opportunity. They accept or reject it swiftly. Swift rejection is as powerful as swift acceptance. Both preserve clarity. Clarity attracts wealth. Indecision repels to it. You are leaving indecision behind. Tonight, you train the mind to cross the line when it appears, to choose direction even when the path is not fully visible, to trust adjustment over hesitation, to value movement over comfort. Comfort stagnates, movement liberates. Liberation is magnetic. Rest now in this decisiveness. It is settling. It is becoming familiar, and familiarity is the gateway through which wealth enters. There is no barrier to wealth more destructive than fear of loss. It operates quietly, disguising itself as caution, humility, and reason. Yet beneath these disguises, it performs the same function. It paralyzes initiative. A man who fears losing cannot gain freely, because his mind is divided between desire and retreat. Division weakens force. Unity attracts response. The millionaire mind is unified. It does not dwell on what might be lost. It concentrates on what must be built. Loss is not ignored, but it is not obeyed. Obedience belongs only to purpose. Fear demands obedience without justification. Wealth refuses to serve such a master. Money moves toward confidence. Confidence dissolves fear. Fear of loss teaches a man to grip rather than guide. He clings to what he has, suspicious of change, guarding rather than expanding. This posture repels opportunity. Opportunity seeks movement, not tension. It flows toward minds that expect increase, not toward those who fear decrease. Expectation determines direction. Direction shapes result. Most men learned fear of loss early, long before they understood money. They watched struggle. They absorbed warning. They inherited scarcity without question. Scarcity was not taught deliberately. It was rehearsed emotionally, night after night, until it felt natural. What feels natural feels true, but natural does not mean correct. Tonight, that inheritance loosens its hold. Fear of loss exaggerates consequence. It magnifies the cost of action and minimizes the cost of inaction. Yet inaction carries the greatest loss of all, the loss of momentum. Momentum attracts wealth. Stagnation starves it. Stagnation feels safe. Safety produces poverty. Wealth requires motion. The man who fears loss believes that safety lies in stillness. History proves otherwise. Every fortune ever built required stepping beyond visible security. This does not mean recklessness. It means faith in response rather than certainty of outcome. Faith steadies the hand, fear shakes it. The story of Darby and the gold mine illustrates this law perfectly. Darby quit 3 feet from gold because fear of further loss persuaded him that stopping was wisdom. Years later, he learned persistence in insurance and earned millions. The gold was not lost forever. The lesson was learned. Loss taught alignment. Alignment produced wealth. Fear of loss disappears when a man understands that nothing is truly lost except opportunity delayed. Money moves. Ideas return. Circumstances rearrange. What appears as loss is often instruction. Instruction refines judgment. Judgment improves decision. Decision attracts money. Fear repels it. You are learning to see loss correctly. Loss is not punishment. It is adjustment. Adjustment is strength. This shift alone dissolves much. Anxiety. When fear of loss weakens, generosity increases. The wealthy mind gives value freely, knowing that circulation invites return. Hoarding signals fear. Circulation signals confidence. Money obeys circulation. Circulation attracts abundance. Fear restricts flow. Flow multiplies. As you rest, your subconscious begins accepting a new relationship with risk. Risk no longer means danger. It means engagement. Engagement signals readiness. Readiness invites opportunity. Opportunity avoids the fearful. It seeks the prepared. Prepared minds do not demand guarantees. They rely on their ability to respond. Response is always within control. Control removes fear. You begin trusting your response now. Others will sense this trust in you. They will notice you speak less about what might go wrong and more about what can be done. This language change alters how people treat you. They bring ideas. They offer alliances. They sense your steadiness. Steadiness attracts cooperation. Cooperation multiplies resources. Resources respond to calm courage. The millionaire thinker does not fear losing money because he trusts his capacity to replace it. Replacement is the key belief. When a man knows he can create again, fear dissolves. Creation ends fear. Fear ends creation. This is the choice now being installed. As your breathing slows, old warnings lose volume. Statements such as, "Be careful, don't risk, protect what little you have," fade into irrelevance. Protection no longer governs your thinking. Expansion does. Expansion is the law of wealth. Fear violates this law. You are aligning with it now. Notice how calm accompanies this alignment. Calm is evidence of truth accepted. The subconscious relaxes when instruction matches law. Conflict produces tension. Alignment produces peace. Peace is productive. Peace attracts wealth. As this part settles, you will begin noticing that opportunities no longer frighten you. They may challenge you, but they do not intimidate. Intimidation arises only when confidence is absent. Confidence is returning now. Confidence is not noise. It is quiet readiness. Ready men do not fear loss. They fear stagnation. You are no longer stagnating. Rest now in this understanding. Loss no longer governs. As you. Fear no longer directs you. Expansion is now your natural posture, and wealth responds to expansion. When fear of loss loosens its grip, a man's mind regains flexibility. Flexibility is the opposite of panic. Panic stiffens judgment. Flexibility permits adjustment. Adjustment preserves progress. Progress invites opportunity. This chain operates silently, yet it determines financial destiny. Fear demanded protection. Wealth demands movement. Movement is returning now. The wealthy thinker understands that money is never static. It circulates. It responds to confidence and withdraws from fear. A mind that clings sends a signal of distrust. A mind that directs sends a signal of authority. Money obeys authority. Authority does not plead. It expects response. Fear of loss also weakens imagination. The fearful man imagines endings. The wealthy man imagines continuation. Continuation dissolves finality. Finality frightens the mind because it implies no recovery. Recovery is always possible. Belief in recovery removes fear. As this belief strengthens, the mind no longer braces against change. Change becomes expected. Expectation neutralizes shock. Shock once magnified fear. Now it finds no foothold. The future no longer threatens depletion. It promises circulation. Circulation reassures the subconscious. Reassurance calms action. Calm action improves result. You are now resting in this reassurance. Others will observe that you respond to opportunity without tightening. They will sense that you are no longer governed by scarcity. This perception alters how they interact with you. They entrust responsibility. They share ideas. They invite collaboration. Collaboration multiplies wealth. Fear isolates. Isolation starves opportunity. You are no longer isolating. Fear of loss once whispered that holding back was wisdom. That whisper was false. Holding back prevents expansion. Expansion is the law of riches. Every fortune has been built by moving forward, while uncertainty remained. Uncertainty does not contradict wealth. Fear does. As fear dissolves, generosity becomes natural. Generosity is not charity. It is confidence expressed through circulation. Confident minds give value freely because they expect return. Return follows expectation. Expectation governs flow. Flow governs increase. Increase dissolves fear. As sleep deepens, the subconscious accepts this law quietly. It no longer associates money with danger. It associates it with movement, exchange, and growth. This association changes everything. Associations shape reaction. Reaction once fed fear. Reaction now feeds courage. Courage is calm willingness to proceed. Proceeding attracts opportunity. Opportunity answers. Courage. You will notice soon that financial decisions feel lighter. You do not grip them. You guide them. Guidance is authority. Authority attracts cooperation from people and circumstance alike. Cooperation reduces strain. Strain once reinforced fear. Fear weakens without strain. The old belief that loss must be avoided at all costs dissolves. In its place stands a stronger belief. Progress must be pursued. Progress produces value. Value attracts money. This is law. Law cannot fail. You are aligning with it now. As this alignment stabilizes, fear of loss will no longer arise automatically. When it does attempt to appear, it will feel unfamiliar. Unfamiliar thoughts lack influence. Influence follows repetition. You are no longer repeating fear. You are repeating expansion. Expansion feels natural now. Naturalness is the final sign of installation. Rest in this new posture. Loss no longer governs your thinking. Confidence directs it. And wealth responds to confidence. The imagination is the most misunderstood faculty of the human mind. When left without discipline, it becomes the servant of fear. When directed with purpose, it becomes the architect of riches. Every fortune ever accumulated began as a picture held persistently in the imagination long before it appeared in form. Fear imagines loss. Wealth imagines structure. Structure attracts substance. Most men imagine unconsciously. They permit the mind to wander into scenes of danger, embarrassment, or failure, especially at night when resistance is low. These scenes impress the subconscious with images of defeat. The subconscious, obedient and impartial, begins shaping conduct in harmony with those images. Conduct follows image. Image precedes result. Tonight you reverse this process. The disciplined imagination does not dream idly. It works. It arranges thought into form. It supplies the subconscious with blueprints rather than warnings. The subconscious cannot distinguish between imagined experience and lived experience. It accepts both as instruction. This is why imagination must be governed. Ungoverned imagination breeds poverty. Governed imagination builds wealth. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before producing the incandescent lamp. Failure did not discourage him because his imagination was fixed upon completion. Each experiment was not an ending, but a refinement of the picture he held within. The image remained intact while method adjusted. Image must remain steady. Method may change. This principle is now being installed within you. When imagination is trained to picture continuation rather than collapse, fear dissolves. Fear thrives on endings. Endings frighten because they imply no recovery. Continuation reassures because it implies progress. Progress is the law of riches. Fear resists progress. You are aligning imagination with progress. The wealthy thinker does not imagine money itself. He imagines order, flow, cooperation, and increase. Money follows these conditions. It does not respond to craving. It responds to preparation. Preparation begins in imagination. Imagine yourself handling wealth calmly, not excited, not boastful. Calm possession signals readiness. The subconscious interprets calm possession as familiarity. Familiarity removes resistance. Resistance repels money. Familiarity attracts it. This is why sudden wealth often leaves those unprepared for it. Their imagination never rehearsed possession. Their subconscious rejects what feels foreign. You are removing foreignness now. As you listen, the imagination begins rehearsing new scenes, scenes of decisive action, scenes of calm choice, scenes of cooperation with capable people, scenes of progress unfolding without strain. These scenes are not fantasy. They are preparation. Preparation precedes opportunity. Opportunity responds to preparedness. The imagination must also be trained to reject destructive pictures. When images of loss or failure arise, they are not fought. They are replaced. Replacement is the law of mental change. What is not replaced persists. You are replacing now. Each time an image of fear is replaced with an image of response, the subconscious learns a new lesson. It learns that you are capable. Capability dissolves fear more effectively than reassurance. Capability is power. Power attracts wealth. As this discipline continues, imagination becomes quieter. It no longer leaps ahead, inventing trouble. It waits for instruction. This waiting is not emptiness. It is readiness. Readiness invites command. Command directs imagination. Directed imagination constructs destiny. Others will soon sense this change. They will feel that you are seeing ahead. They may say you are visionary. Visionary simply means imagination, disciplined by expectation. Expectation shapes conduct. Conduct shapes result. Result follows image. This law never varies. The imagination also determines scale. Fear imagines smallness. Wealth imagines expansion. Expansion does not require extravagance. It requires allowance. Allowance gives ideas room to grow. Constricted imagination produces small outcomes. Expanded imagination invites large ones. You are expanding now. As sleep approaches, these images sink deeper. The subconscious accepts them without argument. It does not ask whether they are reasonable. It asks only whether they are repeated. Repetition ingrains image. Image governs behavior. Behavior attracts money. This is the chain now being strengthened. In the days ahead, you will notice that ideas come more freely. Possibility no longer feels dangerous. Ambition feels natural. These shifts are signs that imagination has been re-educated. Education removes fear. Fear thrives in ignorance. You are no longer ignorant of your creative power. Rest now in this discipline. Imagination is no longer your enemy. It is your servant. And wealth responds to those who command it wisely. There is a law so quietly powerful that most men overlook it, yet every great fortune has obeyed it without exception. This law declares that riches come to the man who gives more value than he is paid for. This giving is not sacrifice, it is investment. It plants causes that must produce effects, though the time and channel of return are often unseen. Value precedes compensation. Compensation follows service. Most men reverse this order. They ask first what they will receive, and only then consider what they will give. This habit narrows the mind. It places limits upon imagination and closes the channels through which opportunity travels. Wealth avoids the calculating mind and seeks the expansive one. Expansion attracts increase. Calculation repels it. The wealthy thinker understands that service is leverage. When a man renders service with quality, quantity, and spirit, he multiplies his influence. Influence attracts attention. Attention attracts opportunity. Opportunity attracts money. This chain begins with service rendered beyond duty. Duty maintains position. Extra service creates advancement. Consider the man who becomes indispensable. He does not announce his worth. He proves it. He does not wait to be asked. He anticipates need. Anticipation is imagination applied to service. This imagination creates pathways others do not see. Pathways lead to opportunity. Opportunity leads to riches. Andrew Carnegie built his empire not by knowing more than others, but by organizing men who did. He rewarded loyalty, initiative, and extra service because he understood its multiplying effect. The men who rose under him did so by thinking beyond wages and into value. Wages belong to labor. Wealth belongs to value. When a man begins thinking in value, his relationship with money changes. Money becomes a measure of service rather than a goal in itself. This shift removes anxiety. Anxiety arises when money is pursued directly. Calm arises when value is pursued. Calm attracts wealth. Fear repels it. You are now training the mind to pursue value. As you rest, the subconscious accepts a new instruction. I give more than expected, and life responds in kind. This instruction alters behavior subtly, but powerfully. You begin noticing opportunities to add value where once you noticed only obligation. Opportunity hides in service. Service reveals it. Men who give more than they are paid for often appear fortunate. Others see the reward, but not the cause. The cause was planted quietly, long before the reward arrived. This is why extra service must be given without immediate expectation. Expectation too soon poisons the seed. Patience nourishes growth. Growth produces return. As this habit takes root, others will begin seeing you differently. They will notice reliability, initiative, and generosity of effort. These qualities invite trust. Trust invites responsibility. Responsibility creates access. Access attracts opportunity. Opportunity attracts money. This sequence never fails. The man who renders extra service also dissolves fear of competition. He no longer worries about being replaced because his value exceeds description. Fear belongs to those who offer only what is required. Confidence belongs to those who offer more. More creates security. Security dissolves fear. You are building this security now. Extra service does not exhaust the mind. It energizes it. When effort is aligned with purpose, fatigue lessens. Purpose expands energy. Energy attracts results. Results reinforce belief. Belief stabilizes identity. Identity governs income. The millionaire thinker understands that money circulates toward usefulness. Useless effort is discarded. Useful effort is rewarded. Usefulness increases when spirit accompanies action. Spirit is willingness. Willingness cannot be taught. It must be chosen. You are choosing it now. As you sleep, imagine yourself giving freely, intelligently, and without resentment. This image trains the subconscious to expect return without strain. Return becomes natural rather than hoped for. Naturalness attracts wealth. Striving repels it. This practice also removes fear of being taken advantage of. The man who fears exploitation restricts service. Restriction limits growth. Growth requires openness. Openness invites increase. Increase dissolves fear. You will notice soon that money begins finding you through unexpected channels. This is not coincidence. It is circulation responding to value. Value once given does not disappear. It waits. It multiplies. Multiplication is the law of service. The future now appears less threatening because effort no longer feels wasted. Every act of extra service plants a seed. Seeds guarantee harvest. Harvest may not arrive immediately, but it is inevitable. Inevitability removes anxiety. Anxiety fed fear. Fear loses ground. Rest now in this understanding. You are no longer working merely to earn. You are serving to multiply, and wealth responds to multiplication. There is a law so quietly powerful that most men overlook it, yet every great fortune has obeyed it without exception. This law declares that riches come to the man who gives more value than he is paid for. This giving is not sacrifice, it is investment. It plants causes that must produce effects, though the time and channel of return are often unseen. Value precedes compensation. Compensation follows service. Most men reverse this order. They ask first what they will receive, and only then consider what they will give. This habit narrows the mind. It places limits upon imagination and closes the channels through which opportunity travels. Wealth avoids the calculating mind and seeks the expansive one. Expansion attracts increase. Calculation repels it. The wealthy thinker understands that service is leverage. When a man renders service with quality, quantity, and spirit, he multiplies his influence. Influence attracts attention. Attention attracts opportunity. Opportunity attracts money. This chain begins with service rendered beyond duty. Duty maintains position. Extra service creates advancement. Consider the man who becomes indispensable. He does not announce his worth. He proves it. He does not wait to be asked. He anticipates need. Anticipation is imagination applied to service. This imagination creates pathways others do not see. Pathways lead to opportunity. Opportunity leads to riches. Andrew Carnegie built his empire not by knowing more than others, but by organizing men who did. He rewarded loyalty, initiative, and extra service because he understood its multiplying effect. The men who rose under him did so by thinking beyond wages and into value. Wages belong to labor. Wealth belongs to value. When a man begins thinking in value, his relationship with money changes. Money becomes a measure of service rather than a goal in itself. This shift removes anxiety. Anxiety arises when money is pursued directly. Calm arises when value is pursued. Calm attracts wealth. Fear repels it. You are now training the mind to pursue value. As you rest, the subconscious accepts a new instruction. I give more than expected, and life responds in kind. This instruction alters behavior subtly but powerfully. You begin noticing opportunities to add value where once you noticed only obligation. Opportunity hides in service. Service reveals it. Men who give more than they are paid for often appear fortunate. Others see the reward but not the cause. The cause was planted quietly, long before the reward arrived. This is why extra service must be given without immediate expectation. Expectation too soon poisons the seed. Patience nourishes growth. Growth produces return. As this habit takes root, others will begin seeing you differently. They will notice reliability, initiative, and generosity of effort. These qualities invite trust. Trust invites responsibility. Responsibility creates access. Access attracts opportunity. Opportunity attracts money. This sequence never fails. The man who renders extra service also dissolves fear of competition. He no longer worries about being replaced because his value exceeds description. Fear belongs to those who offer only what is required. Confidence belongs to those who offer more. More creates security. Security dissolves fear. You are building this security now. Extra service does not exhaust the mind. It energizes it. When effort is aligned with purpose, fatigue lessens. Purpose expands energy. Energy attracts results. Results reinforce belief. Belief stabilizes identity. Identity governs income. The millionaire thinker understands that money circulates toward usefulness. Useless effort is discarded. Useful effort is rewarded. Usefulness increases when spirit accompanies action. Spirit is willingness. Willingness cannot be taught. It must be chosen. You are choosing it now. As you sleep, imagine yourself giving freely, intelligently, and without resentment. This image trains the subconscious to expect return without strain. Return becomes natural rather than hoped for. Naturalness attracts wealth. Striving repels it. This practice also removes fear of being taken advantage of. The man who fears exploitation restricts service. Restriction limits growth. Growth requires openness. Openness invites increase. Increase dissolves fear. You will notice soon that money begins finding you through unexpected channels. This is not coincidence. It is circulation responding to value. Value once given does not disappear. It waits. It multiplies. Multiplication is the law of service. The future now appears less threatening because effort no longer feels wasted. Every act of extra service plants a seed. Seeds guarantee harvest. Harvest may not arrive immediately, but it is inevitable. Inevitability removes anxiety. Anxiety fed fear. Fear loses ground. Rest now in this understanding. You are no longer working merely to earn. You are serving to multiply. And wealth responds to multiplication. No man ever accumulated riches without first believing himself worthy of them. This belief is not arrogance. It is recognition of capacity. The man who doubts his worth quietly instructs life to withhold. The man who knows his worth issues a silent command that attracts response. Worth felt internally becomes authority expressed outwardly. Authority invites opportunity. Self-confidence is not bravado. It is the calm assurance that one can meet circumstances without collapse. This assurance removes fear of exposure, fear of judgment, and fear of failure. These fears drain initiative and repel wealth. Wealth seeks stability, not insecurity. Stability grows from repeated self-belief. Belief governs conduct. Most men were taught to doubt themselves long before they learned to think. Criticism, comparison, and correction left impressions that hardened into identity. Identity formed in doubt produces cautious action. Cautious action limits return. You are dissolving this identity now. The self-confidence that attracts wealth is built through repetition, not emotion. A man who daily affirms his ability instructs the subconscious to accept competence as fact. The subconscious then guides behavior accordingly. Behavior aligned with confidence produces results. Results confirm belief. Belief strengthens confidence. This cycle sustains itself. Consider Hill's own son, born without hearing. Doctors predicted limitation. Hill rejected that verdict. Through persistent autosuggestion, belief replaced fear. The child learned to hear and speak. The lesson is not physical, it is mental. Belief accepted becomes reality expressed. Belief overrides circumstance. Circumstance yields to persistence. The man who believes in himself does not fear rejection. Rejection becomes information, not indictment. Information refines approach. Fear resists information because it threatens ego. Confidence welcomes it. Because it improves method. Improved method attracts success. Success reinforces confidence. You are learning to separate worth from outcome. Outcome fluctuates. Worth does not. When worth is stable, fear of the future dissolves. The future no longer threatens identity. Identity is already secure. Security attracts wealth. Insecurity repels it. As you rest, the subconscious accepts a new truth. I am capable, prepared, and worthy of increase. This truth does not shout. It settles quietly. Quiet beliefs are the strongest. Quiet confidence steadies action. Steady action produces results. You will notice that hesitation lessens. You speak more directly. You choose more firmly. These behaviors arise naturally when self-confidence is installed. Installation occurs through repetition during receptive states. Night is the most receptive state. This is why this hour matters. Others will begin responding differently to you. They will sense assurance. They will trust your decisions. They will feel comfortable following your lead. Leadership is confidence expressed through calm direction. Direction attracts cooperation. Cooperation multiplies resources. Resources respond to confidence. The man who trusts himself does not envy others. Envy signals lack. Admiration signals learning. Learning multiplies capacity. Capacity attracts opportunity. Opportunity answers readiness. Fear once whispered that confidence would invite loss. That whisper was false. Confidence invites alignment. Alignment attracts assistance. Assistance multiplies strength. Strength dissolves fear. As this confidence deepens, the future feels less demanding. You no longer brace against it. You meet it. Meeting replaces avoidance. Avoidance fed fear. Fear weakens now. The self-confident man expects results, but does not demand immediacy. He trusts process. Process rewards patience. Patience preserves calm. Calm is the natural state of wealth. Wealth avoids agitation. As sleep deepens, confidence anchors itself further. It becomes part of identity. Identity governs thought automatically. Thought shapes destiny. Destiny responds to belief. This belief is now secure. Rest now in this certainty. You are capable, you are worthy. And wealth responds to those who know it. No man ever accumulated riches without first believing himself worthy of them. This belief is not arrogance. It is recognition of capacity. The man who doubts his worth quietly instructs life to withhold. The man who knows his worth issues a silent command that attracts response. Worth felt internally becomes authority expressed outwardly. Authority invites opportunity. Self-confidence is not bravado. It is the calm assurance that one can meet circumstances without collapse. This assurance removes fear of exposure, fear of judgment, and fear of failure. These fears drain initiative and repel wealth. Wealth seeks stability, not insecurity. Stability grows from repeated self-belief. Belief governs conduct. Most men were taught to doubt themselves long before they learned to think. Criticism, comparison, and correction left impressions that hardened into identity. Identity formed in doubt produces cautious action. Cautious action limits return. You are dissolving this identity now. The self-confidence that attracts wealth is built through repetition, not emotion. A man who daily affirms his ability instructs the subconscious to accept competence as fact. The subconscious then guides behavior accordingly. Behavior aligned with confidence produces results. Results confirm belief. Belief strengthens confidence. This cycle sustains itself. Consider Hill's own son, born without hearing. Doctors predicted limitation. Hill rejected that verdict. Through persistent autosuggestion, belief replaced fear. The child learned to hear and speak. The lesson is not physical, it is mental. Belief accepted becomes reality expressed. Belief overrides circumstance. Circumstance yields to persistence. The man who believes in himself does not fear rejection. Rejection becomes information, not indictment. Information refines approach. Fear resists information because it threatens ego. Confidence welcomes it because it improves method. Improved method attracts success. Success reinforces confidence. You are learning to separate worth from outcome. Outcome fluctuates. Worth does not. When worth is stable, fear of the future dissolves. The future no longer threatens identity. Identity is already secure. Security attracts wealth. Insecurity repels it. As you rest, the subconscious accepts a new truth. I am capable, prepared, and worthy of increase. This truth does not shout. It settles quietly. Quiet beliefs are the strongest. Quiet confidence steadies action. Steady action produces results. You will notice that hesitation lessens. You speak more directly. You choose more firmly. These behaviors arise naturally when self-confidence is installed. Installation occurs through repetition during receptive states. Night is the most receptive state. This is why this hour matters. Others will begin responding differently to you. They will sense assurance. They will trust your decisions. They will feel comfortable following your lead. Leadership is confidence expressed through calm direction. Direction attracts cooperation. Cooperation multiplies resources. Resources respond to confidence. The man who trusts himself does not envy others. Envy signals lack. Admiration signals learning. Learning multiplies capacity. Capacity attracts opportunity. Opportunity answers readiness. Fear once whispered that confidence would invite loss. That whisper was false. Confidence invites alignment. Alignment attracts assistance. Assistance multiplies strength. Strength dissolves fear. As this confidence deepens, the future feels less demanding. You no longer brace against it. You meet it. Meeting replaces avoidance. Avoidance fed fear. Fear weakens now. The self-confident man expects results but does not demand immediacy. He trusts process. Process rewards patience. Patience preserves calm. Calm is the natural state of wealth. Wealth avoids agitation. As sleep deepens, confidence anchors itself further. It becomes part of identity. Identity governs thought automatically. Thought shapes destiny. Destiny responds to belief. This belief is now secure. Rest now in this certainty. You are capable. You are worthy. And wealth responds to those who know it. There is no quality more essential to the accumulation of riches than persistence, yet it is the one most men abandon at the first sign of delay. Delay frightens the undisciplined mind because it feels like rejection. To the disciplined mind, delay is instruction. Instruction refines method. Refinement strengthens outcome. Fear misunderstands delay. Persistence interprets it correctly. The future frightens only those who doubt their willingness to continue. When a man secretly fears that he may quit, tomorrow appears dangerous. When he knows he will continue regardless of condition, the future loses its power to intimidate. Certainty of continuation dissolves fear. Persistence is not strain. It is loyalty to intention. It is the quiet decision to proceed, whether enthusiasm is present or absent. Enthusiasm fluctuates. Persistence endures. Wealth responds to endurance because endurance proves seriousness. Serious intent attracts response. Idle wishing repels it. Most men quit not because they are defeated, but because they grow weary of waiting. Weariness arises from misunderstanding process. Process unfolds in sequence. Sequence cannot be hurried without distortion. Distortion creates disappointment. Disappointment feeds fear. Understanding sequence restores patience. Patience preserves strength. Strength sustains persistence. Consider the story of King Gillette, who carried the idea of a disposable razor for years before it produced fortune. Had he measured progress by speed alone, he would have abandoned it. He measured progress by continuation. Continuation eventually organized conditions in his favor. Conditions align for the persistent. They abandon the hesitant. Persistence removes fear of timing. Timing frightens only those who demand immediacy. The persistent man knows that cause must precede effect. He does not panic when effect delays. He checks cause, adjusts, and continues. Adjustment preserves momentum. Momentum attracts opportunity. As you rest, the subconscious accepts a new truth. I do not stop. This truth is powerful. It quiets anxiety. Anxiety arose from imagining exhaustion, failure, or abandonment. These images dissolve when persistence becomes identity. Identity governs reaction. Reaction once fed fear. Reaction now feeds calm resolve. Others will sense this resolve in you. They will feel that you cannot be easily discouraged. This perception alters how life responds. Opportunity tests lightly those who persist and withdraws from those who retreat. Retreat invites loss. Continuation invites gain. The persistent man also loses fear of error. Error becomes part of progress. Progress requires trial. Trial refines method. Method improves outcome. Outcome confirms persistence. This confirmation strengthens belief. Belief stabilizes identity. Identity no longer fears tomorrow. As persistence settles into habit, nights become restful. The mind no longer worries about whether effort will be wasted. It knows effort compounds. Compounding requires time. Time no longer frightens you. Time becomes an ally. Fear once made time feel hostile. Hostility dissolves. The future now appears less demanding because you trust yourself to meet it continuously. Continuity removes panic. Panic required imagined stopping points. You no longer imagine stopping. Stopping no longer exists, only continuation. This belief alters everything. When obstacles arise, they do not interrupt you emotionally. You observe, adjust, and proceed. Emotional interruption once fed fear. Emotional steadiness now feeds progress. Progress attracts wealth. Wealth rewards persistence. You are now resting in this certainty. You do not require reassurance. You supply it through continuation. And continuation makes wealth inevitable. There is no quality more essential to the accumulation of riches than persistence, yet it is the one most men abandon at the first sign of delay. Delay frightens the undisciplined mind because it feels like rejection. To the disciplined mind, delay is instruction. Instruction refines method. Refinement strengthens outcome. Fear misunderstands delay. Persistence interprets it correctly. The future frightens only those who doubt their willingness to continue. When a man secretly fears that he may quit, tomorrow appears dangerous. When he knows he will continue regardless of condition, the future loses its power to intimidate. Certainty of continuation dissolves fear. Persistence is not strain, it is loyalty to intention. It is the quiet decision to proceed, whether enthusiasm is present or absent. Enthusiasm fluctuates. Persistence endures. Wealth responds to endurance because endurance proves seriousness. Serious intent attracts response. Idle wishing repels it. Most men quit not because they are defeated, but because they grow weary of waiting. Weariness arises from misunderstanding process. Process unfolds in sequence. Sequence cannot be hurried without distortion. Distortion creates disappointment. Disappointment feeds fear. Understanding sequence restores patience. Patience preserves strength. Strength sustains persistence. Consider the story of King Gillette, who carried the idea of a disposable razor for years before it produced fortune. Had he measured progress by speed alone, he would have abandoned it. He measured progress by continuation. Continuation eventually organized conditions in his favor. Conditions align for the persistent. They abandon the hesitant. Persistence removes fear of timing. Timing frightens only those who demand immediacy. The persistent man knows that cause must precede effect. He does not panic when effect delays. He checks cause, adjusts, and continues. Adjustment preserves momentum. Momentum attracts opportunity. As you rest, the subconscious accepts a new truth. I do not stop. This truth is powerful. It quiets anxiety. Anxiety arose from imagining exhaustion, failure, or abandonment. These images dissolve when persistence becomes identity. Identity governs reaction. Reaction once fed fear. Reaction now feeds calm resolve. Others will sense this resolve in you. They will feel that you cannot be easily discouraged. This perception alters how life responds. Opportunity tests lightly those who persist and withdraws from those who retreat. Retreat invites loss. Continuation invites gain. The persistent man also loses fear of error. Error becomes part of progress. Progress requires trial. Trial refines method. Method improves outcome. Outcome confirms persistence. This confirmation strengthens belief. Belief stabilizes identity. Identity no longer fears tomorrow. As persistence settles into habit, nights become restful. The mind no longer worries about whether effort will be wasted. It knows effort compounds. Compounding requires time. Time no longer frightens you. Time becomes an ally. Fear once made time feel hostile. Hostility dissolves. The future now appears less demanding because you trust yourself to meet it continuously. Continuity removes panic. Panic required imagined stopping points. You no longer imagine stopping. Stopping no longer exists, only continuation. This belief alters everything. When obstacles arise, they do not interrupt you emotionally. You observe, adjust, and proceed. Emotional interruption once fed fear. Emotional steadiness now feeds progress. Progress attracts wealth. Wealth rewards persistence. You are now resting in this certainty. You do not require reassurance. You supply it through continuation. And continuation makes wealth inevitable. Now the mind rests in a different posture than it held when this night began. Something subtle has shifted, not through force, not through strain, but through alignment. Alignment with laws that have governed every fortune, every triumph, and every lasting success since men first learned to think with purpose. This change did not announce itself loudly. It did not require effort. It entered quietly, as all permanent change does. The subconscious does not respond to noise. It responds to repetition, calm instruction, and certainty spoken without doubt. That work has now been done. You are no longer the man who listens in hope. You are the man who listens in recognition. Recognition that these truths are not new, but remembered. Remembered because they have always governed outcomes, even when they were ignored. Ignored law does not disappear. It waits. Tonight, you stopped ignoring it. The future no longer feels like an unknown force pressing against you. It feels orderly, not predictable in detail, but dependable in response. This is the difference between fear and faith rightly understood. Fear imagines chaos. Faith recognizes sequence. Sequence replaces panic. Panic once exhausted you. That exhaustion has lifted. You may not feel excitement. That is as it should be. Excitement fades. Calm endures. Calm is the natural condition of a mind aligned with law. Wealth, success, and stability arise most easily from calm expectancy, not from emotional urgency. Urgency repels, expectation attracts. This expectancy now lives beneath conscious thought. It will reveal itself not in words, but in conduct. You will decide more readily. You will hesitate less. You will notice opportunity sooner and fear it less. These changes will feel natural, not dramatic. Naturalness is the mark of installation. From this night forward, your thoughts will no longer argue endlessly with possibility. They will assess briefly, then move. Movement organizes circumstance. Circumstance responds to movement. You are no longer preparing to live. You are living prepared. The mind that once scanned tomorrow for danger now rests in the knowledge that whatever appears will be met competently. Competence dissolves dread. Dread required helplessness. Helplessness no longer exists here. You trust your capacity to respond. That trust is the end of fear. Fear was never removed by courage alone. It was removed by understanding. Understanding that you are not subject to chance, but participant in law. Law responds to cause. You now supply cause deliberately. Thought aligned. Decision firm. Persistence assured. Service expanded. Responsibility accepted. Nothing essential remains undone. Sleep now comes without rehearsal of disaster. The mind no longer invents punishment for progress. It understands that progress is not punished, it is rewarded through alignment. As nights pass, this alignment will deepen. Repetition will strengthen it without effort. Habit force will now work in your favor, just as it once worked against you. Habit force does not judge, it obeys. You have given it new instruction. Others will sense the change before you name it. They will feel steadiness in your presence. They will trust your words more readily. They will notice that you do not speak as one waiting for permission. You speak as one who knows. Knowing does not boast, it proceeds. This proceeding will open channels you could not have planned consciously. That is the nature of alignment. When cause is correct, effect arranges itself. You need not force results. Force is unnecessary when law is respected. Rest now in that respect. The man you are becoming does not chase wealth, success, or peace. These things respond to him because he has become the kind of man to whom they must respond. This is not optimism. It is accuracy. Accuracy calms the mind. Calm strengthens judgment. Judgment directs action. Action produces outcome. Outcome confirms belief. Belief stabilizes identity. Identity shapes destiny. The circle is complete. From this night forward, your sleep does not merely restore the body, it reinforces direction. Each night, the subconscious will revisit these instructions, refining them, strengthening them, and expressing them through daily conduct. You will not need to remember every word. The mind remembers patterns. The pattern has been installed. If moments of doubt arise, they will pass quickly. Doubt no longer has support. It finds no repetition, no reinforcement. Without repetition, it fades. Fear fades the same way. What remains is clarity. Clarity does not shout, it guides, and guidance is enough. Sleep now in this certainty. Sleep without guarding tomorrow. Sleep knowing that the laws you have aligned with do not sleep. They work continuously, quietly, and faithfully. And when you rise, you will rise not as a man hoping for change, but as a man living from it. That is the final truth. Rest. The mind has now reached the point where effort is no longer required. The work has been done. What remains is allowance. Allowance is not passivity. It is trust in law after cause has been supplied. Men who understand law do not hover anxiously over results. They rest. Rest is not idleness. It is confidence expressed through stillness. Stillness frightens the undisciplined mind because it feels like loss of control. To the disciplined mind, stillness is mastery. Mastery does not need to prove itself. It knows. Tonight, you know. There is a noticeable difference between knowing and hoping. Hope leans forward. Knowing stands upright. Hope waits nervously. Knowing waits calmly. Calm waiting is one of the rarest signs of strength. Strength does not hurry. It allows. This allowance now lives within you. You are no longer straining toward tomorrow. Tomorrow no longer feels like something to be endured or survived. It feels like something that will meet you halfway. This is not imagination. It is alignment. Alignment produces a quiet confidence that does not depend on reassurance. Reassurance once fed your mind because fear demanded it. Fear demanded constant proof. Proof exhausted you. Exhaustion is gone. In its place is steadiness. Steadiness does not fluctuate with circumstance. Circumstance fluctuates around it. This is the posture of men who rise steadily while others rise briefly and fall back. You are becoming steady. Steadiness is not dramatic. It is often mistaken for simplicity. Yet simplicity is power refined. Complication wastes force. Force wasted cannot attract return. Force conserved multiplies. Your force is now conserved. The subconscious has accepted its final instruction. There is nothing to defend against. Defense required fear. Fear required imagined danger. Imagined danger has lost authority here. Authority belongs to law. Law does not threaten, it responds. From this night forward, your thoughts will not rush ahead inventing obstacles. When uncertainty appears, it will feel neutral rather than menacing. Neutrality allows choice. Choice restores control. Control ends fear. You may notice moments of silence in your thinking where once there was noise. These silences are not emptiness. They are spaces where unnecessary thought has withdrawn. Withdrawal is healing. Healing restores strength. Strength is quiet. Quiet strength attracts. Others may not understand this change. They may say you seem calmer, less reactive, less hurried. They may interpret this as detachment. It is not detachment. It is command. Command does not react. It directs. Direction does not require volume. It requires clarity. Clarity now shapes your inner speech. You will speak to yourself more simply. Fewer explanations, fewer arguments, fewer negotiations with doubt. This simplicity frees enormous energy. Energy once wasted on inner conflict is now available for action. Action will feel easier. Ease does not mean lack of effort. It means absence of resistance. Resistance once lived inside you. It has been removed. What remains is willingness. Willingness is fertile ground. Wealth, success, and peace grow easily there. You may still encounter moments that test you. Tests are not signs of failure. They are confirmations of alignment. Law tests stability. Stability passes without strain. You will pass without strain, because strain belongs to uncertainty. Uncertainty no longer governs you. You no longer ask whether you are ready. Readiness is assumed. Assumption is. The highest form of belief. Belief once required repetition. Repetition has done its work. Now belief operates quietly, beneath awareness, shaping conduct without effort. Conduct aligned with belief produces results that appear natural, even inevitable. Inevitability removes anxiety. Anxiety belonged to doubt. Doubt no longer repeats itself here. When the mind no longer rehearses fear, the body follows. Muscles soften. Breath deepens. Sleep becomes restorative instead of restless. Rest restores judgment. Judgment directs life accurately. Accuracy produces success. This success will not arrive with noise or announcement. It will arrive as sequence. One event aligning with another. One decision leading calmly to the next. Looking back, it will seem obvious. Looking forward, it will feel natural. Naturalness is the mark of permanence. You have not borrowed strength for this moment. You have built it. Built strength does not fade. It compounds. Each night you rest in this state. The subconscious strengthens its hold on these truths. Habit force reinforces what is repeated. Calm expectancy is now being repeated. Calm expectancy attracts opportunity. Opportunity answers preparation. Preparation has been completed. From this point forward, your role is simple. Remain aligned. Alignment does not require effort. It requires consistency. Consistency now exists without struggle. You no longer live as a man hoping to become something. You live as a man, allowing what has already been installed to express itself. Expression is inevitable. Rest now in this inevitability. Sleep knowing that nothing essential remains undone. The future does not need to be watched. It is. Responding. And response is already underway. Rest. This exercise is not to be rushed. It is not to be forced. It is not to be done correctly. It is to be entered. The subconscious accepts direction best when the conscious mind relaxes its demand to control. That relaxation begins now. You are not trying to change anything tonight. You are allowing instruction. Begin by becoming aware of your breathing without attempting to alter it. Notice the air entering. Notice it leaving. Do not count. Do not regulate. Merely observe. Observation withdraws effort. Withdrawal opens the mind. Effort belongs to the day. Night belongs to reception. As the breath continues, let your attention settle gently into the body, not with scrutiny, not with concern, but with acknowledgement. The body has carried you faithfully. It now rests. Rest signals safety to the subconscious. Safety opens the gate of acceptance. You do not need to relax. Relaxation occurs when resistance stops. Resistance has stopped. Now allow the mind to turn inward, not toward memory, not toward planning, but toward assumption. Assumption is the foundation of autosuggestion. You are not imagining what you want. You are assuming what is already forming. Assumption instructs more powerfully than desire. Begin with this silent statement, spoken inwardly, without emotion, without emphasis. I am calm, and my mind is receptive. Do not repeat it quickly. Say it once. Allow it to settle. The subconscious responds to calm authority, not urgency. Authority is conveyed through certainty, not volume. Pause. Now speak inwardly, slowly. My thoughts now move in an orderly manner. This is not a wish, it is a direction. Directions are obeyed when they are not debated. Do not check whether it is true. The subconscious will make it true through acceptance. Pause again. Now introduce definiteness, the quality upon which all success depends. Speak inwardly. I know what I am becoming. Do not name it yet. Let the mind accept the knowing first. Naming follows acceptance. Many men fail because they name before they know. Knowing must come first. Pause. Now continue. My future responds to my present state of mind. This statement removes fear of time. It teaches the subconscious sequence. Sequence restores calm. Calm allows power to accumulate. Pause. Now allow a simple picture to form. Do not search for it. Let it arrive. It may be vague. That is sufficient. See yourself moving through an ordinary day with one difference. There is no haste. There is no argument within. There is no pulling in opposite directions. You rise, you act, you decide. Nothing dramatic occurs. Drama belongs to insecurity. Calm competence belongs to power. Remain with this picture briefly, then release it. Holding too tightly creates effort. Release allows absorption. Now we introduce autosuggestion, spoken as fact. Say inwardly, slowly, I expect favorable outcomes because I supply correct causes. This sentence trains lawful expectation. It does not promise ease. It promises response. Response is dependable. Dependability removes fear. Pause. Now say, I do not fear delay. I continue. This instruction dissolves impatience. Impatience signals doubt. Continuation signals faith. Faith practiced calmly is irresistible. Pause. Now turn attention gently to self-concept without analysis. Say inwardly, I trust my judgment. Say it once. Do not repeat yet. The subconscious does not respond to pleading. It responds to recognition. Pause. Now add, I act without betraying myself. This sentence removes self-doubt at its root. Self-doubt is fear of self-abandonment. This instruction closes that door. Pause. Now imagine a small moment in the coming day, something ordinary. A decision, a conversation, an action you once postponed. See yourself moving through it without hesitation, not heroically. Naturally. Natural action is the sign of installation. Release the image. Now we introduce repetition, not through speed, but through rhythm. Slowly, inwardly, repeat this sequence once. I am calm, I am certain, I continue. Pause between each phrase. These are not affirmations to excite emotion. They are instructions to establish posture. Pause. Now allow silence. Silence is not emptiness. It is assimilation. The subconscious organizes during silence. Do not interrupt it. If thoughts drift, allow them to pass. Do not correct. Correction implies conflict. Conflict closes the gate. Now introduce faith, not as belief, but as expectancy. Say inwardly, I expect guidance. Guidance removes fear of uncertainty. Fear demands guarantees. Faith expects direction. Pause. Now, I recognize opportunity when it appears. Recognition is perception trained by expectation. Expectation sharpens awareness. Pause. Now return briefly to breath awareness, not to control it, to anchor attention. Anchoring prevents drift into worry. As the breath moves, speak inwardly. My mind is aligned with increase. Increase here does not mean money alone. It means expansion of capacity. Capacity attracts reward. Pause. Now we introduce responsibility, the final stabilizer. Say inwardly, I accept responsibility for my thoughts. This sentence is crucial. Responsibility restores authority. Authority dissolves fear. Pause. Now, I respond rather than react. Reaction belongs to fear. Response belongs to mastery. Pause. Now allow another short image. See yourself at rest after a day well lived. Not exhausted, satisfied. Satisfaction does not come from reward alone. It comes from alignment. Alignment is the goal. Release the image. Now we seal the exercise with quiet repetition, spoken slowly, once each. I am prepared. I am steady. I am progressing. Do not hurry these words. Let each settle. Now stop speaking inwardly. Allow the mind to drift. If sleep comes, let it come. If wakefulness remains, remain still. This exercise does not end with effort. It ends with allowance. The subconscious now continues the work without instruction. It repeats what has been given. It organizes behavior accordingly. You do not need to remember this exercise tomorrow. Its effect does not depend on memory. It depends on acceptance. Acceptance has occurred. Rest now. The work continues. There comes a moment when effort gives way to assurance, and assurance gives way to rest. You have reached that moment now. The mind no longer searches. It no longer argues. It no longer asks what must be done next. It knows that what has been set in motion will continue without strain. This knowing is not excitement. It is composure. Composure is the quiet strength of men who understand cause and effect. They do not rush ahead of events, nor do they lag behind them. They remain aligned, and alignment carries them forward. Forward movement no longer feels urgent. It feels natural. The mind that once rehearsed difficulty has grown silent. Silence here is not absence of thought. It is absence of conflict. Conflict required uncertainty. Uncertainty has been replaced by order. Order does not announce itself. It stabilizes. You may notice that your thoughts now arrive more slowly, more clearly, and depart more easily. This is the mark of a mind no longer crowded by unnecessary fear. Fear once demanded constant attention. Without fear, attention rests. Rested attention is powerful. Power does not need to prove itself. The future no longer appears as something to prepare against. It appears as something to participate in. Participation implies confidence. Confidence dissolves the habit of bracing for disappointment. Disappointment once lived in anticipation. Anticipation is now calm. Calm anticipation is expectancy without anxiety. It allows events to unfold in proper sequence. Sequence reassures the subconscious that nothing is being missed. Nothing is being missed. Everything necessary will appear at the proper moment, because the proper causes are already in motion. This understanding releases the mind from vigilance. Vigilance belonged to fear. Fear is no longer present here. You are no longer guarding your thoughts. They are orderly. You are no longer correcting your mind. It understands its direction. Direction has been accepted deeply enough to guide conduct without supervision. This is mastery. Mastery is quiet. The man who has mastered his inner state does not strain to hold it. He allows it to express itself naturally through speech, action, and choice. Others sense this mastery even when it is not spoken. They trust it. Trust invites cooperation. Cooperation multiplies strength. Strength attracts opportunity. Opportunity responds to readiness. Readiness is now, part of you. You do not need to announce change. Change announces itself through behavior. Behavior shaped by calm certainty speaks louder than intention ever could. You will notice in the days ahead that you move through situations with less inner resistance. Resistance once came from fear of outcome. Outcome no longer governs you. You govern response. Response is always within reach. Knowing this dissolves anxiety. Anxiety required helplessness. Helplessness no longer exists. There may still be moments when old habits attempt to return. They will feel unfamiliar, even intrusive. When they appear, they will pass quickly because they are no longer reinforced. Repetition sustains habit. Repetition has been redirected. The subconscious now repeats steadiness, expectancy, and trust. These qualities reinforce themselves quietly, without demand for attention. This quiet reinforcement is permanent. Permanence does not feel dramatic. It feels stable. Stability allows rest. Rest restores strength. Strength supports continued progress. Progress does not rush. It continues. You are no longer measuring yourself against others. Comparison once drained energy. Energy is now conserved. Conserved energy compounds. Compounding produces growth. Growth reassures the mind that life is responding. Life always responds to alignment. Alignment does not require perfection. It requires sincerity. Sincerity has been supplied. Effort has been made where effort was required. Now effort withdraws, and law continues. Law does not sleep. While the body rests, the mind organizes. While the mind organizes, circumstance adjusts. While circumstance adjusts, opportunity forms. This process does not need supervision. It needs trust. Trust has been installed. You no longer feel compelled to predict tomorrow. Prediction was an attempt to control fear. Fear no longer needs controlling. It has lost its influence. Influence belongs to certainty now. Certainty is not loud. It is steady. Steadiness is felt in the body first. Breath deepens. Muscles soften. The pulse of thought slows. These are signs of inner agreement. Agreement between conscious intention and subconscious direction. Agreement is peace. Peace is not the absence of ambition. It is ambition without anxiety. Ambition now flows without inner resistance. Resistance belonged to doubt. Doubt no longer governs. As this night completes itself, allow yourself to rest fully in this agreement. There is nothing more to think through, nothing more to arrange, nothing more to solve. Solutions appear when the mind stops forcing them. Force has withdrawn. Allowance remains. Allowance is the final act of faith. Faith is not belief without proof. It is confidence in law after cause has been supplied. Cause has been supplied. The future is responding. You do not need to watch it. You will meet it when it arrives, prepared and steady. Rest now in this certainty. Sleep without guarding tomorrow. The work continues quietly, and you are exactly where you should be. At last, the mind reaches the place where nothing more is required of it, not because desire has ended, but because direction has been fixed. A fixed direction does not demand constant attention. It proceeds of its own accord, guided by laws that never tire and never forget. This is where you now rest. The noise that once filled your thinking has subsided. Not because life has become simple, but because your relationship with life has changed. You no longer meet it with resistance. You meet it with expectancy. Expectancy without tension is the mark of a disciplined mind. Discipline does not strain, it settles. Settled minds do not rehearse fear. Fear required rehearsal. It required repetition to survive. That repetition has been withdrawn. What is not repeated fades. Fear is fading now. In its place stands a quiet awareness that whatever lies ahead will be met with competence. Competence does not come from knowing outcomes. It comes from trusting response. Response has always been within your control, even when you forgot it. You have remembered it now. The future once appeared heavy because you imagined it arriving all at once. That imagination has corrected itself. The future now appears as a sequence of present moments. Present moments are manageable. They always have been. Manageability removes dread. Dread once occupied your nights. Your nights are free now. You may notice that your thoughts no longer cling to unfinished matters as you rest. Clinging was a sign of uncertainty. Uncertainty demanded vigilance. Vigilance prevented rest. That cycle has been broken. Rest restores judgment. Judgment directs life accurately. Accuracy produces confidence. Confidence stabilizes identity. Identity shapes destiny. This is not a theory. It is the quiet mechanics of success that have governed all men who learned to think with order. Those who rose steadily did not carry tomorrow as a burden. They carried direction and allowed tomorrow to respond. You are doing the same. There is a subtle strength that comes when a man stops attempting to control outcomes and begins controlling alignment. Alignment is sufficient. When alignment is correct, outcomes arrange themselves. Arrangement does not announce itself. It unfolds. Unfolding does not frighten the prepared mind. It reassures it. Reassurance deepens calm. Calm allows perception to sharpen. You will perceive more clearly now, not because you are searching harder, but because fear no longer clouds attention. Attention once scattered under fear, now it rests naturally where it is needed. Resting attention is powerful. Power does not hurry. The mind that has accepted its authority does not argue with circumstance. It adjusts. Adjustment is intelligence in motion. Motion sustains progress. Progress removes doubt. Doubt once whispered that you were behind, unprepared, or late. Those whispers have lost their audience. You are no longer listening. Listening belongs to authority now. Authority listens only to law. Law does not threaten. It responds. Others may still hurry. They may still worry. They may still speak of chance, risk, and uncertainty. Their voices will sound distant to you now, not because you are detached, but because you are aligned. Alignment creates separation naturally, not separation from people, but from confusion. Confusion once felt unavoidable. It no longer does. You are no longer compelled to explain yourself inwardly. Explanation was a sign of self-doubt. Self-doubt required reassurance. Reassurance exhausted you. Exhaustion is gone. What remains is steadiness. Steadiness does not depend on favorable conditions. It persists through change. This persistence is not stubbornness. It is faith expressed through continuation. Continuation reassures the subconscious. The subconscious now trusts you. That trust is profound. When the subconscious trusts direction, it stops interfering with fear signals. It supports instead of resists. Support feels like ease. Ease replaces struggle. Struggle belonged to opposition. Opposition no longer exists here. As sleep deepens, this ease spreads through thought and body alike. Muscles soften. Breath deepens. The pulse of thinking slows. These are signs of harmony. Harmony is power at rest. Power at rest is irresistible. You no longer feel compelled to hold your future together. Holding implied fragility. Fragility belonged to fear. The future is not fragile. It is responsive. Responsive to what you have already set in motion. You may not yet see the full shape of what is coming. You do not need to. Seeing too far ahead once created anxiety. Now it creates patience. Patience allows timing to work. Timing is not your enemy. It is your ally. The man who trusts timing does not rush his nights or his days. He allows growth to occur at its proper pace. Proper pace prevents collapse. Collapse was never caused by speed alone, but by misalignment. Misalignment has been corrected. You will wake without urgency. Urgency belonged to fear of falling behind. There is no falling behind when direction is fixed. Direction has been fixed. This knowledge will accompany you quietly into the coming days. It will express itself through calm decisions, steady effort, and absence of inner debate. Debate once drained you. Silence restores you. Silence is not emptiness. It is agreement. Agreement between intention and belief. Belief no longer contradicts desire. Contradiction fed fear. Fear has lost its ground. As this epilogue completes itself, there is nothing further to add, nothing to reinforce, nothing to repeat aloud. What has been repeated sufficiently now lives beneath conscious effort. That is where permanence resides. Rest now in this permanence. Sleep without guarding tomorrow. Tomorrow is responding already, and the mind that rests here does not need to chase certainty. It lives from it. There is a reason some men rise quickly and others struggle for decades. The difference is not luck, not connections, not even intelligence. It is the mind they fall asleep with. Tonight, as you close your eyes, you will enter the thought patterns that create millionaires. Wealth will no longer feel distant, it will feel inevitable. You have lived too many nights rehearsing scarcity in your mind. Quiet worries about bills, quiet doubts about the future, quiet comparisons to people who seem to advance faster than you. These thoughts have shaped your identity more than you realize. A man cannot out-earn the beliefs he holds while drifting into sleep. Tonight you will replace those beliefs. Think about this carefully. Every millionaire you admire once spent nights imagining a future no one believed in but them. They allowed their subconscious to build the blueprint. They rehearsed success mentally long before it appeared physically. They trained their minds to attract wealth while they slept. And you are about to do the same. Picture yourself lying in the dark, your breath slowing, your body softening. This is the moment your subconscious opens wide, receptive, eager for instruction. What you tell it now becomes your emotional reality tomorrow. Most people speak fear into their subconscious. Tonight, you will speak wealth. The mind of a millionaire is not a mystery. It is a pattern, definite thinking, bold expectation, calm confidence, relentless vision, neutrality toward failure, certainty around money. These are not traits, they are habits. Habits that your mind will begin installing as you sleep. But first, you must confront the beliefs that have held you back. The belief that building wealth takes a lifetime. The belief that you need perfect timing. The belief that money only comes to those with advantages you do not have. These beliefs have been quietly robbing you of your potential. Tonight, they dissolve. As you listen, you will feel a shift in your emotional state. Fear loosens. Tension fades. Your mind becomes spacious. These feelings are not random. They are the subconscious accepting a new identity, a wealth identity. Let me ask you honestly, how many opportunities have passed because you didn't feel ready? How many ideas have died because you underestimated yourself? How many times have you spoken less boldly than you felt? None of this was caused by lack of ability. It was caused by a subconscious that was never trained for wealth. Tonight, you train it. Imagine waking tomorrow with the calm certainty of someone who knows wealth is forming for him. You won't wake desperate, you will wake aligned. You will think differently. Choices that once scared you will feel natural. Opportunities that once intimidated you will look small. This is the power of subconscious wealth programming. Your conscious mind tries to improve your life by force. Your subconscious improves your life by design. Through identity, through expectation, through self-concept. When the subconscious accepts that you are the kind of man wealth belongs to, wealth begins moving toward you, and this acceptance happens fastest while you sleep. But I must warn you, this process only works for the man who truly listens. Not casually, not distracted, not half-hearted. You must listen with the seriousness of someone who is tired of being the lesser version of himself, because the mind you bring into sleep becomes the life you wake into. Let me give you a vision. You walk into a room weeks from now, and something is different. People look at you differently. They sense presence. You speak with precision. Your decisions carry weight. You do not shrink, you expand. This shift is not created through effort. It is created through identity. This is what a millionaire mind feels like. Confidence is not louder, it is clearer. Wealth thinking does not rush, it directs. It sees opportunity where others see risk. It sees leverage where others see limitation. It sees timelines not in years, but in decisions. Tonight, your mind adopts these qualities. As you drift deeper, you will hear words that strengthen your inner state, expectations that rewire your emotional responses, commands that reshape the relationship between you and money. The subconscious will accept these commands without debate. It does not need explanation, it only needs repetition. Allow that repetition to work on you. You will notice the first signs tomorrow morning. A clearer vision of what you want, a quieter mind around money, a stronger posture, a desire to act, a confidence that surprises even you. These are the early signals that the millionaire mind is being installed. In a few days, your decision-making will shift. The hesitation you've carried for years will weaken. You will feel pulled toward action instead of pushed. Ideas will arise naturally. Plans will form easily. Your intuition will strengthen, because a millionaire mindset does not rely on fear, it relies on alignment. Let your mind sink into this truth. Wealth is a mental state before it is a financial state. Money follows identity. Opportunity follows intention. Success follows certainty. And tonight, certainty will be programmed into you. Feel your breath deepen. Feel your body soften. Feel the weight of past financial fears melting away. You are entering the state where new realities are built, where the next version of you begins forming. Tonight, you fall asleep with the mind of a millionaire. Tomorrow, you rise with thoughts you've never had before. And soon, you will be living in a life your old self could never have created. Close your eyes, drift into alignment, and let wealth begin its work. Sleep now and program the mind that attracts everything you desire. I have studied the lives of men who accumulated great fortunes and the far greater number who did not, and I have observed one distinction that outweighs all others. The man who rises does not merely work differently by day, he thinks differently by night. The thoughts he allows to escort him into sleep quietly shape the conditions he awakens into. Most men do not know this. They lie down each night carrying the weight of worry, rehearsing shortages, replaying mistakes, and predicting hardship. They do not realize they are issuing instructions to the most obedient servant of the mind. The subconscious does not judge these thoughts. It records them and proceeds to build accordingly. A man cannot outgrow the mental climate he cultivates while resting. The body sleeps, but the mind continues its labor. It organizes circumstances, directs attention, and prepares responses. If it is fed fear, it prepares for fear. If it is fed expectancy, it prepares for opportunity. This is why wealth so often appears accidental to those who do not understand its laws. They see the result but never observe the process. They do not see the countless nights a man spent dwelling upon possibility instead of limitation, order instead of chaos, certainty instead of doubt. Wealth begins as a decision long before it becomes a condition. I have never known a man to drift into riches. Drift carries men in the opposite direction. Wealth is always the result of directed thought, and directed thought must be impressed repeatedly upon the subconscious mind until it becomes familiar, accepted, and finally unquestioned. The mind you fall asleep with becomes the mind you live from. When a man accepts this truth, he stops treating night as mere rest and begins treating it as preparation. He understands that sleep is not an escape from life, but a meeting with the forces that shape it. The wealthy man differs from the poor man not in desire, but in expectation. Desire hopes. Expectation assumes. The subconscious responds only to what is assumed. It ignores what is begged for. For years, many men unknowingly train themselves to expect difficulty. They expect money to be hard to earn, slow to arrive, and quick to depart. These expectations are not shouted aloud. They are whispered inwardly, night after night, until they become accepted as truth. Truth, once accepted, governs behavior. Behavior shaped by scarcity produces scarcity. This law is exact and impartial. I have seen men of modest ability accumulate great wealth because they learned to expect it calmly, and men of superior talent remain poor because they never corrected their inner assumptions. Talent without alignment exhausts itself. Alignment multiplies even ordinary effort. The mind of a millionaire is not excited about money. It is settled with it. This settlement begins when a man decides that wealth is not an accident, not a miracle, and not reserved for a favored few, but a lawful outcome of certain mental habits faithfully maintained. One of these habits is definite thinking. The wealthy man does not think vaguely about money. He does not say someday or hopefully. He thinks in terms of amounts, purposes, and direction. His thinking is clear enough that the subconscious can act upon it. Vague instruction produces vague results. Clarity produces movement. Before Andrew Carnegie became known to the world, he was an ordinary man by outward measure. Yet inwardly, he had already accepted the idea that wealth was his proper field of operation. He did not merely wish to be rich. He thought, spoke, and rested as though accumulation were natural to him. This inward acceptance preceded all outward evidence. Others could not see it, but they responded to it. Men trusted him. Opportunities came to him. Circumstances aligned themselves around a man who had already decided where he was going. This is the power of identity. Money responds to identity more quickly than it responds to labor. Labor without direction scatters effort. Identity gathers it. You are now training identity. As you rest and listen, the mind is learning to become familiar with wealth thinking. Familiarity removes fear. Fear is the chief enemy of accumulation. Fear causes men to hesitate, to retreat, and to sell themselves cheaply. A man who fears money cannot hold it. Fear creates tension. Tension repels opportunity. Calm attracts it. The wealthy man is calm around money. He does not panic at its absence, nor become reckless in its presence. This calm is not inherited. It is trained. Training occurs through repetition. Night after night, the same expectations must be impressed until they feel ordinary. When wealth feels ordinary, behavior adjusts to support it. You may notice, even now, a subtle change in how money-related thoughts arise. There is less urgency, less emotional charge. This is the beginning of authority. Authority over money begins with neutrality. Neutrality allows judgment. Judgment allows wise action. Wise action produces accumulation. Others sense this authority instinctively. They trust men who are not ruled by fear. They offer opportunities, partnerships, and responsibility to those who appear composed. This is why people will begin to see you differently as these habits take root. They will notice that you speak with more precision, that you do not shrink from financial discussion, that you do not apologize for ambition. Ambition guided by clarity does not offend. It attracts. At night, when resistance softens, these ideas move beyond thought and settle into assumption. Assumption is the language of the subconscious. You are not forcing belief. You are allowing belief to form. The difference is important. Force creates rebellion. Allowance creates acceptance. As acceptance forms, you will notice changes in posture, tone, and decision. These are not cosmetic. They are structural. Structure governs outcome. You are building structure now. Let the mind rest in this understanding. Wealth is not pursued. It is permitted. It comes to the man who has prepared himself to receive it without fear. Repeat this inwardly, without strain, as fact. I am becoming familiar with wealth. Money responds calmly to me. I think clearly about value and direction. Opportunity recognizes me. Accumulation feels natural to me. These are not wishes. They are instructions. The subconscious will obey them if they are repeated without contradiction. Contradiction weakens instruction. Calm repetition strengthens it. Nothing more is required tonight. The first foundation has been laid. Rest now in the certainty that the mind you carry into sleep is already shaping the life you will awaken into. Before wealth can be accumulated, the mind must be cleared of false instruction. Many men fail not because they lack ability, but because they unknowingly carry beliefs about money that were never examined. These beliefs were absorbed through repetition, example, and circumstance, and they now operate as silent governors over thought and action. A belief accepted without question becomes law within the mind. Most men were taught, directly or indirectly, that money is scarce, difficult to obtain, or reserved for others. They heard it spoken in homes, observed it in the conduct of elders, and felt it in the atmosphere of caution that surrounded every financial decision. These impressions settled quietly into the subconscious and began directing behavior long before the man was aware of them. The subconscious does not ask whether a belief is useful. It asks only whether it is familiar. Familiar beliefs feel true. This is why so many men sabotage opportunity without knowing why. They hesitate, delay, or withdraw, not because they lack courage, but because their deeper mind associates money with danger, loss, or struggle. The moment opportunity appears, fear rises, and fear always counsels retreat. Fear of poverty is the most destructive of all fears because it disguises itself as caution. Caution says, wait. Fear says, avoid. Wealth requires neither waiting nor avoidance, but judgment. Judgment cannot function where fear rules. The wealthy man does not lack fear by birth. He has trained himself to remain calm in the presence of money. Calm allows him to see clearly. Clear sight reveals opportunity where fear sees risk. This calm must be learned. I have observed that men who accumulate wealth treat money as a tool rather than a judge. They do not measure their worth by their bank balance, nor do they allow temporary shortage to define their future. This neutrality preserves their judgment. Judgment preserved produces advantage. Most men allow money to provoke emotion. Emotion clouds judgment. Clouded judgment leads to error, and error reinforces fear. The cycle repeats itself until poverty feels inevitable. This cycle can be broken only by removing emotional charge from money. Removal occurs through understanding and repetition. When a man begins to view money as obedient to law rather than as a source of anxiety, his entire posture changes. He no longer panics when money is absent, nor becomes reckless when it is present. He uses it deliberately. Deliberate use attracts more. Money moves toward order. It avoids chaos. I have known men of modest income who handled money with such order and calm that opportunity sought them out. Others, with greater income but disordered thinking, repelled it constantly. Income alone does not create wealth. Mental discipline does. One of the most damaging beliefs a man can carry is the belief that wealth requires perfect timing. This belief breeds delay. Delay feeds doubt. Doubt invites fear. Fear ensures stagnation. The wealthy man does not wait for perfect conditions. He acts when conditions are workable. He improves them through action. Action clarifies. Clarification removes fear. Fear removed restores judgment. Henry Ford was repeatedly told that his ideas were poorly timed. He did not argue. He proceeded. His mind was not ruled by consensus, but by certainty. This certainty did not arise from arrogance. It arose from repeated inner alignment. Alignment steadies action. Another belief that must be dissolved is the belief that money belongs to those with advantages one does not possess. This belief poisons ambition. It causes men to underestimate themselves before they begin. Underestimation is self-imposed poverty. The subconscious accepts underestimation as instruction and proceeds to enforce it. Men who rise rarely believe they are special. They believe they are capable of learning, adjusting, and persisting. Capability expands through use. It does not precede it. Money responds to men who see themselves as expandable rather than fixed. Fixity resists growth. Expansion invites it. As these false beliefs loosen, you may notice a change in how financial thoughts arise. They become less charged, less urgent. This neutrality is not indifference. It is control returning to its rightful place. Control begins inwardly. When a man controls his reactions to money, he controls his results with money. Others will sense this control without being able to explain it. They will feel that you are not desperate, not rushed, not uncertain. This perception alone alters how they interact with you. Men are drawn to calm certainty. Calm certainty invites trust. Trust opens doors that effort alone cannot open. This is why wealthy men often appear fortunate. Their fortune is simply the result of being trusted repeatedly. Trust cannot be demanded, it is sensed. As you rest and listen, the mind is being trained to release inherited beliefs that no longer serve you. You are not rejecting your past, you are refining it. Refinement removes excess fear. Fear removed restores balance. Balance sharpens judgment. Judgment applied consistently produces wealth. Repeat these thoughts inwardly, without emotion, as settled fact. I am calm around money. I think clearly when opportunity appears. I do not fear temporary shortage. I trust my judgment. Money responds to order and purpose in me. These statements are not affirmations shouted into the void. They are instructions delivered calmly to the subconscious. Calm instruction is obeyed. As these beliefs settle, you will notice that opportunities no longer intimidate you. They will feel manageable rather than overwhelming. This shift is critical. Opportunity avoids the man who fears it. Fear signals unreadiness. Calm signals preparation. Preparation attracts opportunity. Nothing further is required tonight. The second foundation is forming. Rest now, knowing that as fear loosens its grip, clarity and opportunity will naturally move closer. One of the most decisive shifts a man makes on the road to wealth occurs when he stops thinking of himself as a seller of time and begins thinking of himself as a producer of value. Time is limited. Value is not. Men who remain bound to the measurement of hours can never accumulate beyond the narrow confines of the clock. The wealthy man understands this instinctively, even if he never names it. He measures his worth by usefulness, not by duration. He asks not, "How long did I labor?" but "How much advantage did I create?" This distinction alters every decision he makes. Most men have been trained to trade effort for wages and to feel satisfied when the trade is complete. This training conditions the subconscious to expect only linear reward. Linear reward caps income. Wealth is nonlinear. It multiplies. Multiplication responds to value. Value is created when effort produces results that outlive the moment of labor. When a man improves a system, strengthens a relationship, or solves a recurring problem, he has created value. That value continues working long after his hands have rested. The subconscious must be trained to recognize this difference. Until it is, a man will unconsciously limit himself, offering only what is required and withholding what would make him indispensable. Indispensability is the doorway through which wealth enters. A man who is easily replaced cannot command abundance. The wealthy man does not ask how little he can give without penalty. He asks how much he can give to secure position, influence, and opportunity. This habit does not exhaust him. It empowers him. Giving value is not charity. It is positioning. I have known men who began with nothing more than ordinary positions and ordinary wages, yet who rose rapidly because they adopted the habit of delivering more usefulness than was requested. They did not do this to be noticed. They did it because their identity demanded excellence. Identity governs output. When a man sees himself as valuable, his conduct reflects it. He looks for ways to improve outcomes, to save time, to reduce waste, to increase effectiveness. These acts attract attention not because they are dramatic, but because they are rare. Rarity creates demand. Demand commands reward. This principle was understood by Charles M. Schwab, whose value to the steel industry far exceeded the hours he could personally labor. His worth lay in his ability to organize men, inspire confidence, and increase efficiency. His compensation reflected his value, not his time. The millionaire mind does not resent effort. It resents waste. Waste is effort applied without leverage. Leverage arises when effort is directed toward results that multiply themselves. Teaching others, improving methods, strengthening systems, these acts produce leverage. Leverage attracts wealth naturally. Most men resist this shift because it requires responsibility. It demands that a man look beyond his immediate task and consider the broader effect of his actions. This responsibility is not burdensome. It is liberating. Responsibility expands influence. Influence expands opportunity. Opportunity expands wealth. As you listen and rest, the mind is learning to recognize value opportunities instinctively. You will begin noticing where small improvements produce large effects. This awareness does not come through strain. It comes through calm observation. Observation reveals leverage. Leverage rewards initiative. Initiative separates wealth builders from wage earners. The wealthy man does not wait to be instructed in value creation. He assumes it is expected of him. This assumption guides his conduct without effort. Assumption is more powerful than instruction. When you assume you are meant to contribute value, the subconscious begins arranging thoughts, ideas, and actions accordingly. You will find yourself thinking beyond the immediate task, seeing connections others overlook. These insights are not accidents. They are the result of identity alignment. Others will sense this shift. They will begin to consult you rather than direct you. They will rely on your judgment. They will offer you responsibility because responsibility now appears safe in your hands. Safety attracts trust. Trust multiplies opportunity. Opportunity multiplied creates wealth. This is why men who adopt value thinking often find their income increasing without negotiation. Their value speaks for them. The mind must be trained nightly to reinforce this identity. Before sleep, the thought must be impressed calmly. I create value wherever I am placed. Repeated without emotion, this thought becomes instruction. Instruction repeated becomes habit. Habit shapes conduct. Conduct produces result. You may notice a quiet satisfaction arising from contribution rather than from compensation alone. This satisfaction is not self-denial. It is self-respect forming. Self-respect attracts confidence. Confidence attracts influence. Influence attracts wealth. This sequence is lawful. Repeat inwardly, without strain. I am a producer of value. My usefulness multiplies results. Opportunity responds to my contribution. My value increases daily. Wealth recognizes me through service. These are not wishes. They are statements of direction. Direction shapes destiny more reliably than desire. As these thoughts settle, the mind releases the limiting belief that effort must always be exchanged directly for pay. You will begin to think in terms of systems, results, and leverage. This shift is the gateway to accumulation. Nothing further is required tonight. The third foundation is now forming. Rest now, knowing that as your mind learns to think in value rather than time, wealth will respond accordingly. The moment a man learns to direct money instead of merely receiving it, he crosses a quiet threshold. On one side of that threshold stands the earner, dependent upon circumstance. On the other stands the accumulator, who shapes circumstance through order. This distinction is rarely taught, yet it governs the difference between comfort and fortune. Money responds to command more readily than to desire. The wealthy man does not ask money where it wishes to go. He assigns it purpose. He directs it calmly, without emotion, and expects it to obey. This expectation does not arise from arrogance, but from understanding law. Money is obedient to order. It resists confusion. Confusion repels accumulation. Many men earn sufficient sums over a lifetime, yet never experience wealth because their thinking is disordered. They treat money as something to be spent, escaped from, or feared. Fear and waste are close companions. Where one appears, the other follows. The millionaire mind views money as a servant. A servant must be given clear instruction. Vague instruction produces waste. Clear instruction produces growth. This clarity must first exist in thought. Before a dollar can be directed outwardly, it must be directed inwardly. A man must know, without doubt, that money is meant to serve his definite purpose. Without purpose, money becomes a burden. With purpose, it becomes leverage. Leverage multiplies effort. I have observed that men who accumulate great fortunes are seldom careless with small sums. This is not because they are fearful, but because they are precise. Precision is respect. Respect attracts obedience. Money obeys the man who respects it. Respect does not mean hoarding. Hoarding is fear disguised as caution. Respect means direction. It means assigning every sum a task, whether large or small. John D. Rockefeller understood this principle early. Long before his fortune reached its height, he accounted for every dollar. This habit was not born of scarcity, but of control. Control gave him confidence. Confidence allowed expansion. Expansion responds to order. The man who spends without plan trains his subconscious to expect chaos. Chaos breeds anxiety. Anxiety clouds judgment. Judgment clouded leads to error. Error reinforces fear. The cycle repeats endlessly. This cycle must be broken. It is broken not through restraint alone, but through authority. Authority over money begins when a man decides that money will no longer drift through his life without instruction. Drift is the enemy of accumulation. The mind that allows money to drift will allow opportunity to drift as well. Drift feels harmless because it requires no decision, yet it slowly robs a man of power. Power is restored through decision. Decision directs money. Directed money grows. As you listen and rest, the mind is learning to associate money with purpose rather than impulse. This association alters behavior naturally. You will notice less urge to spend emotionally and more inclination to assign resources deliberately. Deliberation is not slowness. It is clarity. Clarity removes regret. Regret wastes energy. Energy conserved becomes capital. Capital well directed multiplies itself. This principle applies not only to money, but to time, attention, and effort. The millionaire mind treats all resources as valuable. Waste in one area invites waste in another. Order must be comprehensive. Others will notice this order before you do. They will sense that you are not careless, not impulsive, not driven by immediate pleasure. This perception invites trust. Trust opens doors. Men lend money, opportunity, and responsibility to those who demonstrate control. Control invites reward. Many men believe that wealth comes first and discipline follows. The truth is the opposite. Discipline attracts wealth. Wealth follows where discipline has already prepared the ground. Preparation occurs quietly. Each night, when the conscious mind rests, the subconscious reviews the patterns it has been given. If it is trained in order, it produces order. If trained in chaos, it produces chaos. You are now training order. The instruction is simple and must be repeated calmly. Money serves my purpose. This statement, repeated without emotion, becomes assumption. Assumption directs behavior. Behavior shapes outcome. As this assumption settles, you will notice that money-related decisions feel less charged. You no longer rush. You no longer avoid. You consider and direct. This calm is power. Power does not require display. It expresses itself through results. Results accumulate quietly. Others may say you are fortunate. They may say money seems to find you. What they are witnessing is money responding to order. Order is magnetic. Repeat inwardly, without strain. Money obeys direction. I assign purpose calmly. I respect every resource entrusted to me. Order multiplies my means. Wealth responds to control. These are not affirmations of desire. They are acknowledgments of law. Law responds to acknowledgement. As you rest now, the mind continues arranging itself around order. Disorder loosens its hold. Precision strengthens. This shift is essential. Without it, earning alone can never produce wealth. With it, even modest means can grow steadily. Nothing further is required tonight. The fourth foundation is set. Rest now, knowing that as your mind learns to direct money rather than chase it, accumulation will become a natural outcome. I have never known a man to accumulate great wealth while remaining undecided. Talent may exist without decision, opportunity may appear without decision, but accumulation never does. Wealth flows toward channels that are firm, not those that hesitate. Decision is the act that opens the channel. Most men do not realize how costly indecision truly is. They imagine that waiting preserves safety, when in fact it preserves poverty. Waiting feeds doubt. Doubt weakens confidence. Confidence weakened repels opportunity. The millionaire mind understands that decision does not guarantee success, but indecision guarantees delay. Delay, repeated often enough, becomes permanent postponement. Permanent postponement hardens into habit. Habit governs destiny. The man who decides quickly does not always decide correctly, yet he gains something far more valuable than temporary accuracy. He gains momentum. Momentum carries a man forward while others remain motionless. Motion clarifies. Clarification corrects error. Correction strengthens judgment. This sequence cannot begin without decision. The wealthy man does not fear error as much as he fears stagnation. He understands that mistakes made in motion can be adjusted, while opportunities missed through hesitation rarely return in the same form. Fear disguises itself as caution. Caution, when excessive, becomes paralysis. Paralysis repels wealth. The mind must be trained to recognize this disguise. I have observed that men who struggle financially often possess ideas equal to those of successful men. What separates them is not imagination, but resolve. They wait for assurance that never comes. The subconscious interprets this waiting as instruction to remain still. Stillness without direction is drift. Drift never produces riches. Decision interrupts drift. Decision declares authority. Authority attracts. Response. Henry Ford decided upon the V8 motor while experts told him it could not be built. He did not argue endlessly with their opinions. He did not seek permission from circumstance. He decided, and then adjusted his course until the decision became fact. Decision preceded proof. Proof followed persistence. This order is universal. The millionaire mind does not demand certainty before acting. It acts in order to create certainty. Action produces information. Information refines judgment. Judgment improves subsequent action. This cycle accelerates progress. Hesitation breaks the cycle before it can begin. As you listen and rest, the mind is learning to associate decision with relief rather than fear. Fear once whispered that deciding closed doors. In truth, indecision closes far more. Decision opens one door and closes others. This narrowing creates direction. Direction focuses effort. Focused effort multiplies effect. Effect attracts reward. Reward reinforces confidence. Confidence makes future decisions easier. Thus, decision becomes self-reinforcing. The wealthy man does not revisit decisions endlessly. He decides once, then devotes his energy to execution and adjustment. Adjustment is not retreat. It is refinement. Refinement improves outcome. This is why decisiveness must be trained nightly. During the day, noise interferes. At night, the subconscious accepts instruction without argument. The instruction must be simple and calm. I decide firmly and move forward. Repeated without emotion, this statement becomes assumption. Assumption directs conduct. Conduct shapes destiny. Others sense decisiveness immediately. They trust men who do not waver. They lend support, resources, and opportunity to those who appear certain. Certainty reassures. Reassurance invites cooperation. Cooperation accelerates progress. This is why men who decide promptly often find assistance appearing unexpectedly. Assistance responds to confidence. Confidence responds to repetition. You may notice, even now, a subtle easing of inner tension around choice. Decisions no longer feel like traps. They feel like gateways. This shift is critical. Gateway thinking invites movement. Trap thinking invites avoidance. Avoidance starves ambition. Ambition guided by decision thrives. Repeat inwardly, without strain. I decide calmly and firmly. My decisions create momentum. I adjust without retreat. Opportunity responds to certainty. Wealth flows toward decisive action. These are not bold claims. They are acknowledgments of law. Law responds to acknowledgement. As decisiveness strengthens, fear loses relevance. Fear thrives in uncertainty. Certainty starves it. Starved fear retreats. Retreating fear restores clarity. Clarity improves judgment. Judgment applied consistently produces wealth. Nothing further is required tonight. The fifth foundation is forming. Rest now, knowing that as decisiveness replaces hesitation, momentum will carry you where effort alone never could. No man ever rose to great wealth who remained emotionally disturbed by temporary defeat. This is not opinion. It is observation repeated so often that it becomes law. Money responds to steadiness. It withdraws from panic. The mind that reacts violently to loss cannot hold gain when it arrives. The millionaire mind is not free from failure. It is free from fear of failure. Fear of failure is what causes men to abandon opportunity prematurely. It convinces them that a setback is a verdict rather than a lesson. Once the mind accepts that verdict, effort collapses and habit force restores the old condition. Failure is not final unless the mind declares it so. The wealthy man interprets failure differently. He does not dramatize it. He does not identify with it. He observes it, extracts instruction, and proceeds. This emotional neutrality preserves his judgment. Judgment preserved keeps opportunity visible. Opportunity disappears only to the frightened mind. Most men lose more from fear of loss than from loss itself. Fear magnifies damage far beyond its actual measure. A calm mind measures accurately. Accurate measurement prevents despair. Despair is the enemy of accumulation. I have watched men recover quickly from financial setbacks simply because they refused to panic. They adjusted quietly, continued acting, and soon found themselves ahead of where they had been before. Others, shaken by smaller losses, never recovered because they allowed emotion to take command. Command must remain with reason. Reason cannot function where emotion dominates. This is why emotional neutrality must be trained deliberately. It does not arrive by chance. It is cultivated through repetition and understanding. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times without losing his emotional balance. His mind never treated failure as personal. It treated it as procedural. This detachment preserved his confidence and allowed persistence to operate without exhaustion. Exhaustion is emotional before it is physical. Emotional exhaustion comes from resistance. Resistance dissolves when events are interpreted correctly. Interpretation governs reaction. Reaction governs outcome. The millionaire mind understands that money, like all material things, fluctuates. It does not expect a straight line. It expects cycles. Expectation prepares the mind. Prepared minds are not surprised. Surprise invites fear. Expectation invites readiness. Readiness preserves confidence. Confidence attracts opportunity. This sequence must be impressed upon the subconscious until it becomes automatic. Automatic calm is far more valuable than forced courage. Forced courage breaks under pressure. Calm endurance does not. As you listen and rest, the mind is learning to separate emotion from outcome. This separation restores power. Power lies not in avoiding difficulty, but in responding without collapse. You may notice that thoughts of loss no longer carry the same weight. They arise and pass without disturbance. This is the beginning of mastery. Mastery begins when emotion no longer dictates conduct. Conduct, guided by reason, produces consistency. Consistency builds trust. Trust attracts capital, allies, and opportunity. Others will sense this calm immediately. They will notice that you do not panic when conditions change. They will trust you with responsibility because you appear composed. Composure is rare. Rarity attracts value. This is why wealthy men are often entrusted with greater opportunity after setbacks rather than before them. Setbacks reveal character. Character steadiness is currency. You must learn to welcome instruction hidden within adversity. Every difficulty carries information. Information increases competence. Competence builds confidence. Confidence neutralizes fear. Fear neutralized restores clarity. Clarity allows persistence. Persistence ensures eventual success. This chain is unbroken. The man who fears failure interrupts the chain at the beginning. The man who remains calm completes it. At night, when the conscious mind rests, emotional impressions sink deeper. This is why it is essential to impress calm interpretation before sleep. The subconscious will rehearse whatever emotional tone it receives. Feed it calm. Calm produces balance. Balance preserves judgment. Judgment directs action. Action creates wealth. Repeat inwardly, without emotion. I remain calm in all conditions. I learn from every outcome. Temporary loss does not disturb me. My judgment remains clear. Wealth responds to steadiness. These are not affirmations meant to excite. They are instructions meant to settle. Settled instruction is obeyed. As this habit forms, you will notice fewer emotional reactions to money matters. Decisions will feel cleaner. Adjustments will feel manageable. Fear will no longer dictate retreat. Retreat ends accumulation. Advance resumes it. Nothing further is required tonight. The sixth foundation is forming. Rest now. Knowing that as emotional neutrality replaces fear, wealth will find a steady place within you. Every fortune ever assembled began as an unseen form. Before money took shape in accounts, property, or enterprise, it existed as a clear image held steadily in the mind of a man who refused to release it. Imagination is not fantasy. It is the workshop in which reality is first constructed. Men who do not understand this treat imagination as idle dreaming. Men who do understand it use imagination deliberately, quietly, and persistently. They do not announce their visions. They rehearse them inwardly until they feel familiar. Familiar images direct conduct. Conduct materializes images. This is the order of creation. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. It responds to images charged with feeling and repetition. This is why imagination must be disciplined. Undisciplined imagination rehearses fear. Disciplined imagination builds fortune. Most men imagine poverty more vividly than wealth. They picture unpaid bills, missed chances, and declining prospects. Night after night, these pictures are impressed upon the subconscious until it accepts them as instruction. Instruction obeyed becomes circumstance. The millionaire mind reverses this process. It selects images deliberately. It pictures order, abundance, movement, and completion. These images are not wild or unrealistic. They are precise enough to guide behavior. Precision strengthens belief. Belief directs action. Action produces result. Edwin C. Barnes held the image of partnership with Thomas Edison long before any evidence existed to support it. He did not know how it would occur. He did not require a timetable. He required only certainty. That certainty directed every choice he made until opportunity recognized him. Opportunity recognizes clarity. Clarity is born of imagination held steadily. The wealthy man does not imagine wealth as escape or indulgence. He imagines it as structure, organized resources serving definite purpose. This image removes guilt, fear, and confusion around money. Money responds best to structure. Structure begins as mental form. As you listen and rest, the mind is being trained to accept wealth images without resistance. You are not forcing belief. You are allowing familiarity to form. Familiarity dissolves doubt. Doubt dissolves opportunity. The images you entertain before sleep sink deeply because resistance is low. The conscious mind no longer argues. The subconscious accepts and rehearses. Rehearsal prepares reality. You may notice that your imagination begins to shift naturally. Instead of worrying about shortage, you find yourself thinking about organization, expansion, and contribution. This is not accident. It is alignment. Alignment directs imagination productively. Productive imagination solves problems before they appear. Problem solving attracts reward. The wealthy man does not wait for opportunity to imagine solutions. He imagines solutions until opportunity appears. This habit places him ahead of circumstance. Circumstance responds to preparedness. Preparedness is mental before it is physical. Others will sense this preparedness instinctively. They will feel that you see farther, think ahead, and consider consequences. This perception invites trust and cooperation. Trust multiplies opportunity. Opportunity multiplied creates wealth. Imagination must be accompanied by calm expectation. Expectation signals readiness. Anxiety signals doubt. The subconscious responds to readiness. Readiness invites action. Action refines imagination. Refined imagination produces clearer outcomes. This refinement occurs nightly through repetition. Repeat inwardly. Without strain. I see wealth as order and purpose. My imagination prepares opportunity. I mentally possess before I receive. Clarity guides my actions. Wealth recognizes my vision. These are not wishes. They are design statements. Design governs construction. Construction follows design. As imagination strengthens, fear weakens. Fear thrives on the unknown. Imagination makes the future familiar. Familiarity removes fear. Fear removed restores confidence. Confidence attracts resources. Resources organized create wealth. This cycle continues. Nothing further is required. Tonight, the seventh foundation is forming. Rest now, knowing that as your imagination learns to hold wealth calmly and clearly, reality will follow its lead. No man ever accumulates great wealth alone. This truth stands unchanged, no matter the age, the industry, or the fortune involved. Riches are born not from isolated effort, but from organized thought, acting in harmony. The millionaire mind understands this instinctively and seeks cooperation rather than solitary struggle. Most men resist this truth because pride disguises itself as independence. They believe they must carry the entire burden alone. This belief exhausts strength and limits reach. Cooperation multiplies power without multiplying effort. Power multiplied attracts opportunity. The wealthy man does not attempt to know everything. He organizes minds around him that collectively know more than he ever could alone. This organization does not occur by accident. It is designed deliberately and maintained faithfully. Design precedes multiplication. The mastermind is not a gathering of bodies, but a coordination of purpose. It exists wherever two or more minds unite in harmony toward a definite end. Harmony is essential. Discord weakens force. Harmony amplifies it. The subconscious responds powerfully to harmony. Harmony creates momentum. Momentum accelerates progress. Andrew Carnegie never built his fortune by attempting to master every detail. He surrounded himself with men whose abilities complemented his own. His genius lay not in knowing everything, but in organizing knowledge effectively. Organization transforms effort into leverage. Leverage expands results. Most men fail to accumulate wealth because they insist on operating alone. Alone, effort is linear. In harmony, effort multiplies. The millionaire mind seeks multiplication. Multiplication requires trust. Trust arises from clarity and steadiness. Others must feel safe uniting their efforts with yours. Safety is communicated through calm certainty. Calm certainty has already begun forming within you. As this certainty strengthens, you will find that capable people are drawn to you. This attraction is not mysterious, it is lawful. Men seek association with those who appear directed and reliable. Reliability invites cooperation. Cooperation produces acceleration. Acceleration shortens timelines. This is why wealthy men often appear to move faster than others. They are not working harder. They are working in organized harmony. Harmony reduces friction. Friction wastes energy. Energy conserved becomes productive force. The mastermind principle operates whether or not a man understands it. Those who do not understand it often find themselves in harmful alliances marked by discord and confusion. Those who understand it choose associations deliberately. Choice governs outcome. The millionaire mind does not seek numbers, it seeks alignment. One harmonious mind is worth more than many divided ones. Division weakens effort, unity strengthens it. As you listen and rest, the mind is being trained to recognize the value of cooperation without dependence. The mastermind does not remove responsibility. It multiplies effectiveness. Effectiveness attracts reward. Reward reinforces confidence. Confidence strengthens leadership. Leadership draws capable allies. The cycle completes itself. You may notice that you are becoming more selective about whose counsel you accept. This selectivity is not arrogance, it is discernment. Discernment preserves harmony. Harmony preserves momentum. Momentum sustains effort without strain. The wealthy man does not argue with his allies. He aligns with them. He does not compete within his circle. He coordinates. Coordination produces power. Power attracts capital. Capital organized through harmony creates wealth. This law applies even at the level of imagination. A man may form a master mind inwardly by aligning his thoughts with those of great men who have gone before him. When he studies their thinking and adopts their habits, he harmonizes with their influence. Influence travels through alignment. Alignment strengthens resolve. Resolve directs action. Action produces result. As this principle settles, you will notice that opportunities increasingly arrive through people rather than through chance. Introductions occur. Conversations open doors. Alliances form naturally. This is not coincidence. It is the master mind at work. Repeat inwardly, without strain. I attract harmonious cooperation. I align with capable minds. Unity multiplies my effort. Harmony accelerates success. Wealth expands through organized purpose. These are not affirmations of hope. They are acknowledgments of law. Law responds to acknowledgement. As the subconscious accepts these truths, it begins arranging encounters and circumstances that support cooperation. You will find yourself in the right conversations at the right times. Timing improves through harmony. Harmony reduces resistance. Resistance delayed wealth. Delay loosens now. Nothing further is required. Tonight, the eighth foundation is forming. Rest now, knowing that as your mind aligns with cooperation rather than isolation, wealth will multiply beyond what effort alone could ever achieve. Every man who has accumulated great wealth has done so not because he avoided difficulty, but because he outlasted it. Persistence is not dramatic. It does not announce itself with enthusiasm or emotion. It operates quietly, often unnoticed, until resistance gives way and progress becomes inevitable. Most men misunderstand persistence. They imagine it as strain or stubbornness. In truth, persistence is calm continuity. It is the refusal to abandon a purpose once it has been accepted by the mind. It does not hurry. It does not argue. It simply continues. Continuity defeats opposition. Opposition thrives on interruption. The man who persists does not expect an unbroken path. He expects delay, revision, and adjustment. Because he expects these things, they do not disturb him. Disturbance is what causes retreat. Retreat ends accumulation. The millionaire mind understands that effort compounded over time produces results far beyond effort expended in bursts. Bursts exhaust. Continuity builds. Continuity shapes habit force. Habit force governs destiny. When persistence becomes habit, success no longer depends upon mood. Mood fluctuates, habit remains. This is why persistence must be impressed nightly, when the subconscious is most receptive. At night, the mind learns whether to continue or to quit. Most men unknowingly rehearse surrender. They lie down reviewing frustrations, imagining obstacles, and convincing themselves that tomorrow can wait. The subconscious accepts this rehearsal and prepares retreat. You are now rehearsing continuation. Continuation instructs habit force to remain active even when enthusiasm fades. This is critical because enthusiasm always fades before results appear. Results appear after resistance weakens. Resistance weakens only when met repeatedly. Repeated effort without panic dissolves opposition. This is why so many men quit just before success. They mistake resistance for failure. In truth, resistance is evidence that progress has begun. Progress disturbs the old condition. The old condition resists replacement. Replacement occurs only when persistence outlasts resistance. I have observed that men who fail often do so within sight of success. They lacked one more act of persistence. That act would have shifted momentum permanently. Momentum once established is difficult to stop. Stopping usually occurs before momentum forms. The millionaire mind is trained to recognize this danger point and move through it calmly. It does not seek encouragement. It relies on principle. Principle does not waver. Wavering dissolves persistence. Persistence solidifies direction. Direction focuses effort. Focused effort multiplies effect. Effect attracts reward. Reward reinforces confidence. Confidence strengthens persistence. Thus, persistence becomes self-sustaining. This is why it must be installed as identity rather than effort. Effort collapses under fatigue. Identity endures. The persistent man does not say, "I will try again." He says, "I continue." This language difference reflects identity. Trying implies uncertainty. Continuing implies decision. Decision anchors persistence. Anchored persistence resists discouragement. Discouragement thrives on doubt. Doubt weakens resolve. Resolve guided by certainty endures. As you rest and listen, the mind is learning to accept continuation as normal. The thought of stopping feels increasingly unnatural. This reversal is the sign that persistence is becoming habit. Habit does not require motivation. Motivation fades. Habit remains. You may notice that you feel less emotional about progress. This is not indifference. It is maturity. Mature persistence does not celebrate each step. It moves. Movement accumulates distance. Distance traveled discourages retreat. The farther a man has come through persistence, the less willing he is to abandon the path. This unwillingness protects success. Protection ensures accumulation. Others will sense this persistence instinctively. They will trust you because you do not vanish when difficulty appears. They will invest in you because you remain steady. Steadiness attracts capital. Capital rewards persistence. This exchange is lawful. Many men believe persistence means repeating the same action blindly. This is error. Persistence means remaining loyal to the purpose while adjusting method as needed. Adjustment refines approach. Refinement improves efficiency. Efficiency accelerates progress. The persistent man does not cling to methods. He clings to purpose. Purpose anchored deeply guides adjustment wisely. Wisdom reduces waste. Waste delays wealth. The millionaire mind persists without bitterness. Bitterness poisons effort. Calm continuation preserves clarity. Clarity ensures correct adjustment. Correct adjustment advances progress. As persistence strengthens, fear weakens further. Fear depends upon uncertainty. Persistence replaces uncertainty with expectation. Expectation stabilizes effort. Effort stabilized accumulates power. Power attracts opportunity. Opportunity met with persistence becomes wealth. Repeat inwardly without strain. I continue calmly. I do not retreat from purpose. Resistance strengthens my resolve. Persistence guarantees success. Wealth yields to continuity. These are not emotional claims. They are acknowledgments of law. Law responds to acknowledgement. As these thoughts settle, the mind releases the illusion that success must come quickly or not at all. Speed is irrelevant. Direction and continuity are decisive. Time favors the persistent. Persistence commands time rather than fears it. Nothing further is required tonight. The ninth foundation is forming. Rest now knowing that as persistence becomes habit, success is no longer a matter of chance, but of time. There comes a stage in every successful transformation when effort withdraws and identity assumes command. At this stage, the man no longer asks himself whether he thinks like a millionaire. He simply does. Thought, feeling, and action move in harmony without supervision. This is the condition toward which all the previous work has been directed. Wealth, at this level, is no longer a pursuit. It is a response. Men often imagine that success must be defended constantly, guarded against loss, or renewed through force. This belief belongs to those whose gains rest on excitement rather than structure. What has been built through habit force protects itself. Once the subconscious accepts wealth thinking as normal, it resists returning to disorder. Disorder now feels foreign. The man who has reached this stage does not feel pressure to prove himself. Proof was necessary only while identity was uncertain. Certainty removes the need for display. He proceeds quietly, trusting the laws he now understands through experience rather than theory. Experience replaces doubt. Doubt once demanded reassurance. Reassurance is no longer required. You may notice that your relationship with money has changed fundamentally. Money no longer provokes emotion. It does not excite or frighten. It serves. This neutrality is not indifference. It is mastery. Mastery is calm authority. Authority does not announce itself. It is recognized. Others will recognize it in your conduct. They will sense that you are no longer hurried by opportunity, nor intimidated by responsibility. They will feel that you weigh decisions carefully and move without retreat once you decide. This steadiness attracts trust. Trust opens access. Access invites opportunity. Opportunity met with composure produces wealth that endures. As days turn into weeks beyond this point, you may notice that wealth-related thinking arises naturally. Ideas appear without effort. Plans organize themselves. You no longer strain to imagine improvement. Improvement feels inevitable. Inevitability is the final form of confidence. Confidence at this level does not fluctuate with circumstance. It is rooted in trust of self-command. You know that whatever arises, you will respond correctly. This knowledge removes fear of the future. Fear once governed your choices. Now judgment governs them. Judgment guided by calm produces accuracy. Accuracy prevents waste. Waste delayed accumulation. Accumulation now. Proceed steadily. You may also observe that comparison with others fades. Comparison belongs to uncertainty. When identity is settled, attention turns inward to direction rather than outward to measurement. Direction determines destiny. Destiny is not a single event. It is the path you now walk without hesitation. Walking this path does not require constant effort. It requires consistency. Consistency has become ordinary for you. What once felt demanding now feels expected. Expectation governs behavior more powerfully than desire. Desire reaches outward. Expectation assumes inwardly. Assumption directs conduct. Conduct produces outcome. This chain now operates without interference. Others may describe your progress as fortunate or well-timed. They will not see the nights of calm repetition, the discipline of identity, or the steady refusal to retreat that made it inevitable. Inevitability is quiet. Quiet power endures. You may find that rest comes more easily now. Sleep is no longer an escape from strain. It is restoration. A restored mind operates with greater clarity and precision. Precision improves outcome. Outcome reinforces confidence. Confidence stabilizes identity. Identity anchors wealth thinking permanently. Nothing now depends upon willpower. Willpower was a bridge. Habit is the destination. Habit carries you forward even when attention wanders. This is the greatest gift of the millionaire mind. Freedom from constant self-correction. Correction was necessary when thinking was disordered. Order has been established. Established order governs automatically. You are no longer building. Wealth thinking. You are living from it. Living from it feels ordinary. Ordinary consistency reshapes a life more completely than occasional brilliance ever could. You will continue to grow, Not because you force growth, but because growth is now aligned with who you are. Alignment removes resistance. Resistance once delayed you. Delay no longer appeals. Proceeding feels natural. As you settle into rest now, there is nothing left to install, nothing left to repair, nothing left to struggle toward. The work has moved beyond instruction and into being. You are no longer rehearsing wealth, you are expressing it. Expression shapes reality effortlessly. Let the night carry these truths deeper without effort. Let the subconscious continue its faithful work. What has been established will not dissolve with waking. It will guide your decisions. It will shape your conduct. It will attract opportunity. It will command wealth. Sleep now, knowing that the mind you carry into rest is the same mind that builds fortunes quietly, steadily, and without retreat. You have entered that mind, and it will carry you forward. This exercise is not designed to excite you. Excitement fades too quickly to shape destiny. It is designed to train you quietly, patiently, and permanently. If followed faithfully, it will rearrange the way your mind relates to money, opportunity, and self-command without effort or force. Begin by lying still, allowing the body to become heavy. Do not attempt to control the breath. Let it slow of its own accord. Stillness of the body invites stillness of thought, and stillness of thought opens the gate through which the subconscious receives instruction. Now, without urgency, recall that wealth is a mental state before it is a material condition. Do not argue with this idea. Do not analyze it. Simply accept it as a working assumption for this exercise. Assumption is more powerful than belief because it does not ask for proof. Picture yourself standing quietly in your own mind, not striving, not reaching, simply standing with certainty. You are not imagining money yet. You are establishing posture. Posture precedes possession. A man who does not stand inwardly cannot hold outward command. As you stand there, feel the difference between tension and firmness. Tension tightens the chest and jaw. Firmness relaxes them. Allow firmness to replace tension. This is the posture of a man who expects results without desperation. Now bring to mind the idea of money, but do not attach emotion to it. Do not picture numbers yet. Simply picture money as a neutral substance, obedient, movable, responsive. You are not chasing it. You are acknowledging it. Say inwardly, without speaking aloud and without strain, money responds to order. Pause after this thought. Let it settle. Do not repeat it quickly. Repetition is effective only when calm. Now imagine that money in your life has been disordered in the past, not as a failure, but as a condition. Conditions can be changed. Identity directs conditions. You are not condemning the past. You are releasing it. Picture the old pattern loosening its grip without resistance. Resistance strengthens what you wish to remove. Indifference dissolves it. Now imagine money arranging itself calmly around your purpose. You do not need to know the exact form. You are training expectation, not planning detail. Expectation guides behavior automatically. Say inwardly, I direct money calmly. Pause again. Allow the mind to rest. Now imagine a simple scene from your daily life, nothing dramatic. Perhaps you are speaking with someone about work, opportunity, or responsibility. Notice how you feel in this imagined scene. You are not hurried. You are not shrinking. You speak plainly and listen carefully. Others respond differently to you in this scene. They trust your word. They sense composure. They do not rush you. This is not fantasy. This is rehearsal. The subconscious responds to rehearsal as instruction. Now say inwardly, my judgment is trusted. Pause. Next, imagine yourself making a decision related to money or opportunity. It is not perfect. It is simply clear. You decide once. You do not revisit the decision emotionally. You move forward. Notice the relief that follows decision. Relief is the sign that hesitation has been released. Let that relief become familiar. Say inwardly, I decide and proceed. Pause again. Now imagine a small setback, not dramatic, not threatening. Observe how you respond. You do not panic, you do not withdraw. You adjust calmly. The setback passes through you without disturbance. This is the most important rehearsal of all. Wealth avoids the man who collapses under pressure. It moves toward the man who remains steady. Say inwardly, I remain calm in all conditions. Pause. Now imagine yourself at the end of an ordinary day. Nothing extraordinary has happened. Yet you feel satisfaction not from excitement, but from completion. You did what you intended to do. This feeling is self-respect. Self-respect is the true foundation of wealth. Say inwardly, my word is reliable. Pause. Now, without picturing details, allow a general image of abundance to form. Not excess, not indulgence. Orderly abundance. Enough resources flowing through your life to serve purpose calmly. Do not ask how. The subconscious handles arrangement. Your task is expectation. Say inwardly, wealth forms around me naturally. Pause. Now allow all images to soften. Do not force them away. Simply let them fade like a tide receding. What remains is the emotional tone of certainty. Certainty, not excitement, is what you are cultivating. Rest in that tone. If thoughts arise, do not engage them. Engagement reactivates effort. Let them pass. The subconscious continues listening even when the conscious mind wanders. Before sleep claims you fully. Repeat these statements one final time, slowly and without emphasis. I think clearly. I act decisively. I remain calm. I create value. I direct money. I persist. Wealth responds. Do not repeat them like a chant. Think of them as acknowledgments. Acknowledgement trains identity. Identity governs behavior. Behavior governs results. Results will follow without being chased. This exercise is not to be done once. It is to be done nightly, especially on evenings when doubt, fatigue, or distraction appear. Those evenings are not obstacles. They are opportunities, because resistance is low. If you fall asleep before completing the exercise, do not resist sleep. Sleep is part of the process. The subconscious continues the rehearsal without your supervision. Do not attempt to measure progress daily. Measurement introduces impatience. Impatience disrupts calm. Calm is the condition under which this exercise works. Within days, you will notice subtle changes. Decisions feel cleaner. Money thoughts feel quieter. Confidence feels steadier. Action feels easier. Within weeks, others will respond differently to you. They will trust your judgment. They will offer opportunity. They will sense that you are no longer ruled by fear or hesitation. This is not coincidence. It is training. Continue this exercise until it feels unnecessary. When it feels unnecessary, it has done its work. Then, allow it to remain as a quiet habit, used when needed, returned to whenever clarity must be restored. Now release the exercise. Let the body rest fully. Let the mind remain open and calm. What you have rehearsed will continue assembling itself while you sleep. You are not forcing wealth. You are preparing yourself to receive it. Sleep now and allow the mind you have trained to continue its faithful work. There is a moment, rarely marked by sound or ceremony, when a man no longer feels the need to urge himself forward. The urging once served a purpose, for without it the mind might have remained idle. But urging is not meant to be permanent. It is a bridge, not a dwelling. You have crossed it. On the other side of that bridge, effort changes its character. It no longer feels like pressure applied from within. It feels like motion arising naturally, the way a river moves once its course has been set. The water does not argue with the land. It follows the channel prepared for it. Your channel has been prepared for a long time, perhaps longer than you realized. You lived with the sense that something essential was unfinished. Even in moments of rest, the mind remained alert, scanning for what was missing, what was delayed, what might go wrong. This alertness was mistaken for responsibility. In truth, it was uncertainty. Uncertainty demands vigilance. Certainty allows rest. Rest is not retreat. It is consolidation. Consolidation is the quiet phase in which strength gathers itself. You are now in that phase. The mind, having been trained repeatedly, no longer resists the idea of order, purpose, or abundance. Resistance was never the mind's natural state. It was learned through confusion and reinforced through repetition. What is learned can be unlearned. What is replaced does not return easily. The old habits of doubt have loosened their hold not through argument, but through neglect. They no longer receive attention. Attention is the nourishment of habit. Withdraw it, and habit fades. In its place stands a different inner posture. It does not feel dramatic. It feels steady. Steadiness is often overlooked because it lacks excitement. Yet it is the foundation upon which everything enduring is built. Endurance does not announce itself. It remains. You may notice that you no longer rehearse explanations for your ambitions. The urge to justify yourself has diminished. This is not indifference to others. It is confidence in direction. A man who knows where he is going does not pause to convince every passerby. Conviction expressed quietly is more persuasive than enthusiasm expressed loudly. Others sense this change even if they